carries. Go ahead and call our meeting to order this morning. We're at the Public Works Building. It's March the 11th at 9 o'clock. As we start by invocation, followed by the pledge of allegiance. Dave, thank you.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we stand before you this day and ask that you give our city council and to those in authority the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice. Fill them with the love and truth of righteousness and make them continually mindful of their calling to serve faithfully in their offices in order to promote the well-being of all people in Mexico Beach. If we happen to disagree with each other this day, let's do so in the unity of the Spirit through the bonds of peace. And all this I pray in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. Before we say the pledge real quick, I'm sorry. I just want to say a prayer for Bill real quick. Father God, I just come before you, and I just praise you and thank you, Lord, for watching over Mr. Hamilton as he's in the hospital, and just ask that you put your hands on him and take care of everything that his needs are, Lord. And just praise you and thank you. And also embrace those arms around Linda as they're going through this. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, have we looked at the minutes? Any questions on the minutes? We all okay? I'm sorry, Patty, we take the roll.
Mr. Adams?
Here.
Ms. Hamilton?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mayor Wolf?
Here.
And Mr. Linderman is excused today.
All right, minutes on January 14th, everybody take a look at them. Any questions on them? I'm okay with them. Consent agenda, we'll go to staff reports. First one on here is Elizabeth Moore. Chris?
Good morning.
Morning.
Elizabeth Moore with Anchor Engineering. Just wanted to give you all an update on some of our current projects. The first one on my list is the Mexico Beach boat launch. As discussed, we have the survey. We did have to go back and pick up some additional information, but we do have the survey. The geotech team is getting a few more bores, so we're waiting on that. We have met with the structural engineer, and as soon as they get the geotech, then they'll begin design. We're expecting that to be around the middle of April that we'll have that back. And then we're also working with FWC to have the language revised for the grant. They're working with us on that, and they actually want us to wait until we have the design completed before we revise that so that we have accurate quantities in there. So Mexico Beach 15th Street pedestrian bridge, we did open the bids on that. That's on your agenda a little bit later. The apparent low bidder was HG Harders, but we're going to stay for that. So whenever that comes on the agenda, we'll be here to answer any questions you have on that. The Public Works water tank aeration system, that's out for bid, and that will be received tomorrow at 3. The metal building, I'm having a little trouble figuring out a good place to put the metal building at the moment. We met with city staff, explored some other options. We're actually going to have we're going to get some more information on the this corner over here where you have the bases for the previously elevated water tank. See if we can't cut those off at the top or do something with that. You know, it's kind of a shame to have a portion of your yard over there that's unusable because those big concrete footers are there. So we're going to see about removing those. The access mat, we're looking at the design for that and how we can make that work with the new dune. It's a new dune that's been constructed out there. So we're looking at how to address that, but we don't have a good concept plan at this point. It looks very different from our original concept plan out there now, so we're working on that. The amphitheater, that's also out for bids, and that should be, the bids to receive for that tomorrow at 2. So you're gonna get 2 bids tomorrow. The Nanook Road and 14th Street lift station proposals, we've submitted that to the city, and I believe it's gonna be coming up on your agenda, I think for the next meeting. And those are the lift stations that were bid previously, and looking at revisiting that and getting those under construction. The only other thing on here is just a development order application, and for that, we're just waiting on the applicant. And that's, I think, the last of our updates, unless y'all have any questions for us. A lot going on. It's good stuff.
A lot going on, but I question the progress of a lot going on.
You do sometimes
We've
take
taken
one
on the
step forward.
program several times. I thought that language was done on that.
Well,
What do you say?
No, we couldn't redo the language. We met with them multiple times, and they said that we can modify the grant, and that was what they came down here and we talked to them about. But they want very specific language. Like, we asked them if we could just put in there like general, like, we're, installing approximately this many linear feet of new seawall and, floating bridge. They want exact quantities. We can't give that. We haven't designed it yet. So they said that was fine. They actually have a new project manager, so they said it was fine for us to go ahead and submit some draft language now, but we won't finalize it until the design is complete. So, I personally, that's not exactly normal from what I'm used to seeing. Usually they are okay with this is approximately the linear feet, this is the scope of the project in general terms. But for whatever reason, this grant, they want it specific, this many cubic yards, this many linear feet, so.
How long ago they asked for draft language?
Was it last week? Actually, we got an email yesterday from them that they said they would accept the draft language.
A time limit on it. Did we gonna make the time limit? We supposed to have?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We are.
Yes, I'm not concerned about the time limit, I don't think we are. Let me put it this way, I'm not concerned that we are going to lose the money for this project. I'm not concerned at this point about that. They had said that they would, I'm not looking to extend the deadline, but they have said that if we need to, that we can. But, our goal is to get it done in a quick and expedient manner, so.
Beside this list, it's the one that's probably the closest to getting started and completed.
That one's also gonna have the longest complete, construction timeframe.
But getting started on it.
Yes, that one's, that one, we started that, we got the verbal approval a year ago, but then we had to, tap the brakes a little bit until we got.
The metal building, we didn't do any drawings or anything prior to okaying the approval on the building to where it was gonna sit?
We did, we had we had a concept drawing that was completed and we submitted it. But then because of the way that the building was gonna be used, we felt like that was too close to some other things. And so then if you remember, then we met with city staff and we said, we'll put it over in this corner where there's the footers. And then we realized that was gonna be too close to the footers. So then we called a contractor to see if they could come remove the footers. He came back with a $60,000 price tag to remove them. So then we said, okay, well, let's look at putting them on the backside put the building on the backside of the facility. But after meeting with staff, we decided that it would be better for you to try to utilize these. So we are coming back with concept drawings, and we're working hard to get this done. But, you also don't want a building that's in the middle of your yard and limits the use of what you have there and what you're trying to operate. Trust me, there's not been a long lag time between the times that we have submitted proposals and then come back. We are diligently trying to get this done. We don't make any more money if we drag this out. It costs us money to drag it out. So that's not the goal. The goal is to get it done.
Yeah, I'm just surprised by that. I mean, the concrete pillars haven't moved. They've been there for years.
I agree. Yeah, but they need to, I think.
So, question on that, can we advance a little bit and this is for the table too. We say we had a contractor look at it, but we never put it out for official.
True.
I don't want to call them, I guess it would be bid, but to really have people come and look at those footers because that seems like, from what you just said, and I've been back there and looked around, there is no really other alternative. So I think we should probably start addressing these footers even sooner than
So we contacted, because I think someone at some point in time had told us that there had been a contractor who had looked at those previously. So we followed up with that contractor, because I think he had already told somebody at city staff, and I can go back and look at my notes, but he told somebody that they had looked at it and that they could remove them. It was somebody local, so we had him come back and take a look at those. And that's whenever we came back, and he just estimated. I mean, he said it'd be about $60,000 to take those down. That seemed like a lot. So, but I think that is also a full removal. So that's whenever we looked at putting it towards the back of the yard. But it does kind of limit your use back there, because that's where your dump trucks are stored, and then there's a traffic circulation back there that would impede a little bit. So we were gonna have another contractor come and look at it, and just look at cutting them off at like 3 feet below the grade. We don't have to remove them completely, but just cut them off. So we've sent them that information, we're waiting for him to come. But if you would rather us put it out to bid, we could do that too. It just seems like if this guy comes by and looks at it and it says, hey, no, that $60,000 number looks right to me too, then, you know, then you won't have. But we're happy to do whichever way the city would like to proceed.
No, if you're on track to have somebody look at it, then, you know, it's worth waiting.
Yeah, and, yeah.
But then after that, we need to make a decision.
Yeah, and we've talked to staff about what the procurement limits are, and I feel pretty strongly that wherever that number comes in, you probably are going to have to bid it. But I think right now we're just trying to get an order of magnitude to see if that's something you'd be interested in doing. Because if it doesn't, I don't know that you want to remove them if it still comes in at $60,000, but at least, you know, that'll be a conversation we can have, that we've looked at it 2 different ways from 2 different contractors. And if that is something that you're interested in doing, then we can bid it at that point.
Well, if it was 60 to total removal, they're probably 10 foot deep of concrete, I would imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
That'd be pretty deep.
Yeah, but again, you know, we didn't have specs on it. It was a conversation, but I'm assuming that was a complete removal.
So you're trying for a cut.
Yeah, just something so we can use the yard. I mean, they can stay there. It doesn't hurt you any. So that's a different. We're just looking at it from a different perspective.
Any other questions for Ms. Moore?
All right, thank you.
Mr. Snyder, Financial Director, Financial Report.
Good morning. This report is through the January 2025 month. And so we're a third of the way through the year. Our revenues are looking good. Expenses are actually a little bit lower than expected. We are going to, I've started an exercise to purge through the general ledger and make sure that we're accounting for all of our expenses, putting them in the right buckets, and also identifying some accruals that will refer back to the fiscal year 24, that they were expenses paid in 25. Kind of doing some pre-work for our annual fiscal audit that'll be starting here soon.
So the development services budget line, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down in the expenditures.
265.
Yeah,
265%.
that's a big one, that there are 24 expenses that were paid in 25, so they'll refer back to the 24 fiscal year in our year-end audit. It'll show up as an accrual.
Well, it looks good to have a LURM tax, 81% collected.
Mm-hmm.
Halfway through there.
And that process is getting ready to crank back up here in a couple months.
Yeah.
So just generally what I look at from the administrator's perspective is total expenditures. Looking at January, we're about quarter of the way through the year, so I would expect excuse me, expenses to be 25% or less, and they're within that range.
Mike, if I look at something like the city clerk, and it shows 42% expenditure to date, is there a way to break that down of what's being spent there? I mean, I can't think that's only the city clerk's money.
It's not, and that's part of the exercise that I've started, going into the general ledger and identifying what's going into these accounts so we can better track and put the monies or the expenses where they actually belong. Because I think in the past, there might be some expenses that just automatically are, oh, that's from this vendor, so it needs to go into this bucket right here. And that's what I'm starting to do now with our new staff members. We're gonna go through that general ledger and actually examine those accounts and make sure we got everything going in the right spot.
Yeah, if we don't do that, I think we see what we see. Instead of
Right.
Dumping, basically, that becomes a dump site for, hey, here's
Correct.
something I need, put it in this account.
Correct.
Where if we separate that out, it'd be better to identify. Our program allows us to change this current financial report.
Yes. We went to a Springbrook Lunch and Learn a couple weeks ago, and they opened us up to a reporting program called Tableau that actually digs into our database. And so I will be able to, when I get some time, play with and develop a new report that I'll work with Chris in that to make it a little bit more eye fancy for everybody.
Yeah, I think the council may have some input on maybe categorizing different
Okay.
things.
I'll be more than open to that.
Yeah, good. Any questions from the table off the mic?
With all that you just said, it's gonna start here, I think it's within the day, when you have time, I mean, next month, this month.
It's coming up on the meetings.
I know that's what he said, I don't understand.
Can
That's
you,
fine,
Oh.
I'm on, you can't understand me. I can't understand you.
that's at Clemson in, I guess.
Who? Nobody.
Yeah.
South Carolina, I thought everything different.
Thank you, Mike. All right, regular agenda. Before we get into the regular agenda, something that was not on the agenda, I want to make sure that we get taken care of, because there's a timetable to it. And we talked about it, the last meeting is James Moore and our engagement letter. So I want to make sure we get that expedited so that we will close our audit on time. Chris, do you want to take this? Do you have any comments on it? I think the council came and they asked, they were trying to give us a full 5-year contract. And we asked that we could get a 1-year contract with the ability to go 4 or 5 years deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. A little more background, on this. The last engagement letter had a high starting rate, and then it would decrease annually. The reason behind that is they thought that we would have less and less FEMA fund moving going on, and that requires additional audits, additional checks. So that didn't happen. So that's why they came back with this one, in addition to the increase in labor and everything else I had mentioned previously. Came back with this one at $45,000. They, based on the council's request, they did come back, and this is a 1-year agreement for the $45,000, and then 4 additional 1-year renewals should the council decide to do that.
That are our options.
Correct.
Any questions on that? I think we want to approve going forward with getting the engagement letter, but I also, first time this has been in my hands, I'd like a day or so to go through 26 pages. Okay. So at the table, we okay with moving forward with the engagement letter, and all of us should take the time to read this, and in the next maybe 24 hours, we can get back to Chris and let him know we're okay.
And the only change that's been made is the term.
All right. We don't want anything to hold us up, though. Okay. Thank you. Regular agenda, we start into 15th Street Bridge. And that would be you, Chris?
The 15th Street Bridge was originally started as a concept in 2021 or 2022. The manager at that point, or the administrator at that point, asked for state appropriations. The amount was $350,000. I don't know for sure what the reason is that the 350,000 was decided on. It could have been the cap on available expenditures at the time. It could have been basically just a rough guess on what that cost would be. But since that time, we've put in, we have been promised that 350,000, but the most recent bids came in that would increase that total cost to 656,898. Of the 3 bids we received, one came in, the lowest came in at 563,068. The next one came in at 658,901, and the high bid came in at 910,650. So by the time you add on the engineering costs to those specific bids, that's how we come up with 656,898. It's my understanding that this is fairly important for the residents, so I did some work on how this could be funded. In essence, we currently have 280 earmarked for the amphitheater project. We can reallocate that to the 15th Street to cover some of the difference in price. And then if the council decides, impact fees could be used to fund the rest of the amphitheater project. The remaining 26,898 would have to come out of the general fund, and those funds are available. We'd find a way to make that available as well. So at this point, it's up to the council. That's a significant price increase from what we anticipated, or our best guess at 350. It's just a matter of what the council feels is important.
What date did we get that 350 bid?
It wasn't an actual bid. That was the appropriations request put in first in, I believe, 22 and then 23.
Looks like we got it on 9/26/23.
That's where the funds were promised. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'll wait till we got something else.
Is that it, Chris?
That's it.
Okay, we're going to open to the public. Any questions? Move to the table. Let me just go back to what I'm hearing. We put together 350,000, 22, 23. We're looking for an additional 306 based on the lowest bid. You're looking to take that 306 out of recreation, parks and recreation?
The short answer is yes, the funds that were allocated for amphitheater.
That qualifies in that area. We can check that out. Be able to take it from there.
Yeah, those funds are available for this.
Legally available.
Yes.
Documented.
Yeah, it's general fund.
All right, the only, as we go through the process of making a decision whether we take that 306 to go ahead and complete this project, impact fees are something that we collect year to year. In this account, there's like, I think, 474,000, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
475 in that account. We basically average about $61,000 a year to put in there. So, my math is right, it'd take us about 5 years, 6 years to make that back up. I'm not saying we shouldn't take it out of it, I'm just saying that this is the reason why you have a 5-year capital plan. Here we are in a year, and we have to get this done, it's being shoved down our throats. And we're getting ready to take $360,000 or $360,000 out. Take it back. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to speak on this. One, kind of to correct some things. I was told the 280 would come out of the ARPA funds that were allotted for the amphitheater and moved to, it's the same money, that was what's gonna move to the bridge. And then we were gonna look at the Parks and Recs impact fees to fund the amphitheater. which looking into that. A couple of my concerns, one, obviously the number's doubled. And I'm gonna say this on the bridge more than anything, but when you double the price, it's something we have to look at real closely. So, I haven't looked at, nobody's really explained, it may be an engineering thing, I haven't looked at the specs on it. I don't know why it's shot from 350 to 600. But also, we've been seeing, when it's not anybody's here at the table, a pattern of these projects that we budget. They're not just within 10%. They're extremely, and it's hard to plan. You talk about planning for the future. When we budget stuff, and we're looking at, and then we go into this, and then we get a project that's laid on us that's double. This is not the first one. So, just that being said, I don't know if we should try to look at it more. I don't know if Elizabeth can shed some light, but also I'm concerned going down the road with the amphitheater. We budgeted $280 for that. I know we got $474 in this Parks and Recs. But are we gonna get to the end that the amphitheater is gonna be 600,000 or 550? It's before we move, I just wanna discuss this because, next thing you know, we'll be at a $700,000 swing, putting the 300,000 here, and let's just say we used all the impact funds just for the amphitheater. So it's just becoming, like, how do we, I know, like he said, it's kind of it's like we're sitting on the table, the project needs to be finished, and boom, here we are. It's like, have to make a decision to come up.
I agree 100%. I can't speak to how these estimates came up. I did some digging, like I said, on the 15th Street Bridge, and it looks like there may not have been an actual, but there's most likely not an actual bid that went into that. It was a guesstimate, and also based on what was available for state appropriations funding.
Yeah.
When I look at, to the mayor's
You don't have
point,
you don't have a written bid for 350?
No, it would be hard to bid it without specs. I get that.
yeah, it's, when you go through appropriations, the appropriations process is asking for money based on your best guess at that point. So,
Let me,
yeah, absolutely.
I think, Rich, you all know this, I think he was here. We got to 350,000. And at the time, we were just gonna get a bridge, aluminum bridge, Tommy 5 foot wide or whatever, it had to be a sidewalk, and we were gonna get it made. And to me, I can remember 250, not 300, but 250. And then we were gonna have to get a crane and set this bridge that we had made for $250,000 on the 15th pedestrian bridge. And now we at 656. This is just like with the bathroom started out. It's $600-something thousand for one bathroom, and we finally got it down to 2. I think Judy can be right on it. I think that's what bathrooms in this conference piece, something close to it. So this has got way out of hand, but I don't know how, when we just started out with getting an aluminum bridge made and to set it down, and then the city was gonna put the pilings or whatever we was gonna do and make the bridge, and this is way out of hand to me.
Can I interject just one more little thing too? I would like to know, this bridge, I mean, we've all been over it. Do we know where its rating is with the state right now? It's structural? Because obviously, if you look at the bridge and you're like, well, I don't know when the last time it was replaced. I don't want to get in a rabbit hole, but is this bridge, I guess we would know, it's going to be slated to get redone anytime, and then we'd be incorporating obviously a walkway or something in that point. But like I said, we got to stick with that hand. We're here with $656,000 price tag, and we've got to come up with, and we all want the bridge. I don't know.
This is way shot out of line. And when I first promoted this and went to try to get all this done and found out that the, you know, what, 15th Street, who owned it, who don't own it. First they said the state owned it. So we've been battling this for a while, but from starting out, from what I understand, Tommy might can tell you, or Miss Logan can about that, I think we're gonna get our aluminum bridge for $250,000, said it with a crane. And y'all gonna put the post in. Now we've got so many, if you read this, that we got a pile of money for engineering fees and everything. I mean, it's just, maybe Ms. Moore can tell me more about it. This is a lot more than what it originally, there she comes. She'll straighten me out.
So the design, we were given a design concept, which is not different from what you have said. Prefab design, it's not aluminum, it's galvanized steel with a concrete deck. So the way that this bid was set up, it is a prefabricated bridge that will be set down. Now, right now, the way that it is set up is that the contractor is gonna build the abutments, they're gonna have to sink the piles, they'll build the sidewalks coming up to it. But what you may wanna do is consider, possibly consider entering into negotiations with the contractor. Maybe there is another type of bridge that they could use that would be less expensive than the one they proposed. Maybe there is a different material. Maybe y'all could deduct out the sidewalks, do it yourselves. Maybe you could deduct more work out of that. That may be an option. The way that this was bid though, is a 6 foot wide, you know, not excessive, galvanized steel bridge. It just goes from abutment to abutment. But you do have to build those abutments, so.
So it says, and it's 8 foot, right? So-
The overall width may be 6 foot, but the travel width is
Oh, yeah, okay, gotcha.
6 foot. So that may be what you need to do. I will say that I went back and looked at some pricing too, just to kind of see, because we talked about that, we anticipated that it was gonna be over, we didn't anticipate it to be this much. You know, there was a huge escalation of pricing. We looked it up, it's about 30% for construction materials over the past 5 years. So if you had, you know, a design and an estimate, kind of what you came up with, that unfortunately, you know, you saw a huge escalation in the last 5 years in construction costs. So, but, you know, it doesn't mean that you have to spend all this. It may be worth it to go into a value engineering phase with the contractor. And it is H.G. Harders, which is a local contractor who, you know,
That was the lowest bid.
and they've done a lot of these. You know, they've done quite a bit of this locally. So it may be worth proceeding in that route and seeing where we can find some more money. I think we've also reached out to DOT to see if there's any additional funds that they might have available towards this. I don't think we've heard back yet, but, you know, that might be the way that you want to go with this. And if those are some parts that the city wants to actually construct yourself, one of the things that's included in this that I will admit was not in the original, scope was that the sidewalk ends at the road to the right, I can't think of the name of it. But then there's a gap of sidewalk that you would be without, so we included that. So, but we have unit prices. We did bid this all unit price so that we could deduct things that make sense to deduct. So it's not like you're gonna lose a whole bunch of money by negotiating with the contractor because we bid this all unit price. So you should be able to just take certain things out and work with them. So, I don't know if that helps.
So let me ask, is this project, it's ready to pull the trigger? I mean,
Yes.
we've got a bid.
We've got a bid, you've got, yeah, just the money. But yeah, everything else is there. Yeah, the permits are there, the contracts are there, everything's ready to
Our
go.
question is can we legally, now that we have the 3 bids in our hands, can we take the low bidder and then negotiate a different project? And I don't think we can do that.
You can't negotiate a different project, but, you know, I don't know, I'd refer to Tim, your attorney on that and see at what point it becomes a different project. But I think you definitely have a good amount of room. You can certainly go back to the concept that you had, if the city is able to construct the abutments and the sidewalk and see where that gets you.
Well, that's what we originally, I mean, when we first started, and I went about, this needs to be done, because this is a safety issue. If not, you can go down 15th Street, when the sun's going down, you can't see the bridge, you can't see nothing but the sun in your eyes. People coming from the beach, and go on that road, you have no room. Especially if it's a dump truck or a big truck, there's no room for another car.
Yeah.
So the sidewalk definitely is a safety to the city and our people that we need to get this done.
Yeah.
So I just was overwhelmed about we got 350,000, we thought we could do it for that, now we 600.
Yeah, my recommendation would be to negotiate with the low bidder and see. And then, we'll run it by your city attorney before we get to the end, see if we can get within the budget amount and make sure that we're still within the scope of the project that keeps it legal.
Yeah, I'm thinking, obviously, the way the project has been bid out, I think we're past, I don't know, I mean, obviously, our guys probably can do concrete, but, when you're talking about structural and those ends, I heard it was before, we would sink some pilings and do that, but like I said, I haven't looked at the project itself, but it's probably pretty in-depth. Those ends, the way this is gonna be anchored, we can't put ourselves in too much liability to
True.
do
Yeah,
that.
I agree, that's probably something we wanna farm out, and definitely look at these 3 vendors and see if we could, if we have to redesign it and get a rebid on them. I think that's the proper way to move. I don't think we're prepared to take an additional double the funds of 300,000 and throw it on top of this without knowing exactly what we're gonna get.
Well, and
What we
two,
wanted.
yeah, and I mean, you do run into it, the one nice thing about having one contractor do it all is that, should anything ever go wrong, it eliminates the possibility of them saying, oh, well, that's your fault, With one contractor, you have just one, but, again, H.G. Harders is an experienced contractor, they've done a lot of this, so they've got a commitment to the community, so.
Yeah.
My fear is that we don't have a bid for the 350. There's nothing to look at, just what we said. So not being able to do that, I have a problem with that. I would rather go out there, find out what we were gonna do, what that looked like, and get that bid. I don't think the 350 tells me anything. I don't understand it.
I'm not really following it. You're saying that the 350, I understand what you're saying, and that there's no project for 350 right now.
There never was.
Oh, I see.
Where'd that number come from?
The 350 we got, that wasn't a bid on it, that's what we got from the appropriation committee, was 350. We thought we could build it for it, I thought you was here.
But we had to ask them.
But
We
I
had
think
to
the city
ask
manager at the
where that money
time
come from.
come to find out that to build this bridge, I think that's where in my mind, that's where it come from, was the 250. I don't know, never mind, somebody will tell us.
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and get see if we can either table this, get a motion, move forward, whatever we do. I think at this point, we don't have enough information to allocate the funds.
Yeah, I don't wanna ditch this just yet, because it's ready to be permitted, and I mean, obviously, I don't want to spend another 300, but we do have some questions of. So how did we, I guess, listening to, I wasn't here, we obviously had apparently a different scope that we wanted, and it turned into this. You know?
Sounds like you wanted to do a little bit in-house and then.
Well, not just in-house, but we were aluminum, what I heard is we was gonna buy aluminum bridge, we were gonna set it over there, and I know it's not that easy. But, and now this is a whole different bridge.
It's just a different material, but yes, same concept though. You're still buying a prefab and dropping it down with a crane.
Okay.
And two, if you're gonna table it, I don't know what direction you go, but we can also just go ahead and start having the conversation with, Harders to see if there's some places where, if we can make it get a lot closer to that number in the meantime, so.
And then you can check into if we design to what point. They may give us some leniency and say you can move it 50% different or something. I'm not sure what it says legally, but we'll have to look at that and see if we have to go to a rebid or can we negotiate with the current bid.
So, to put you on the spot, the last time we dealt with this, I believe we could decline that bid and then open that up for negotiation with individual contractors, is that the?
Well, you decline the bid, and if you're gonna go back out for a bid, you can at least talk to the contractors and get some information, and perhaps reduce the extent of the bid package for next time. Yeah.
Do we need a motion to do that?
So Elizabeth, is it an option to possibly go back to FDOT since the money was accepted a year and a half ago? And naturally, they would expect the cost to go up as well. Can we go back and make an appeal to them for more money?
Yeah, we've already sent an email to them asking and reiterating again that, the city actually sent it, but saying, again, that this is a public health need, this is, very important, this is obviously more than was allocated, can you help us out there? So that's the other option that we're looking at too.
And then also the second request to have a second engineering firm do the inspection, wasn't that not expected at first, so that's an additional cost?
Yes, the Anchor submitted a fee to do both engineering and inspection, but DOT came back and said we could not do that. Like, originally, we didn't realize that the DOT funds were actually involved in this, so then you had to get a third party. We reduced our fee for inspection, we took that out of our scope. You had another one come in, and his was higher than Anchor's, so.
And I think last thing, while we're doing this, making sure I know you've checked, that if we move this money, the ARPA funds from the amphitheater to there, then these impact funds can be used for the amphitheater. I mean, obviously, just to be double sure, safe.
Yeah, impact funds can be used for capital facilities, parks and roads.
Okay.
Just for the public in this table, ARPA funds have been mentioned many a times, a couple times you mentioned it.
I've just heard.
We have no ARPA funds. ARPA funds were given to us in 2020, I believe, and they have been written off the books
Okay, well,
as
that's
in
what
2023.
it was mentioned to me, so I'll have to go back. So the 280 for the amphitheater, I mean, I can look at the budget.
I just think
I'll
that's
find out.
important to say, because if we had ARPA funds, as of this year, we'd have to pay them back to the state
Okay.
for not using them.
All right.
So we don't have any ARPA funds written off in 2023.
Okay. Appreciate you.
In my opinion, I know how when you just said what you said, but I don't like, I'd rather not take this off the table since we got bids and we're ready to go with it. It's important and as safety is for the people. But then again, the cost might be the other way we need to look at it. So in my opinion, before you ask me anything, I think we need maybe try to get her to reduce the prices and stay on track, because summertime's coming.
Well, to get her to reduce the prices, you have to either table a bid to allow them to do it, or approve it with restrictions. What are we prepared to do?
Well, if we table it too, doesn't that give us more opportunity to maybe receive additional funds from FDOT and not have to get into our money as much? Could we possibly wait for that reason?
I think she has.
Better to use somebody else's money?
Actually,
That's
has
not
it.
an option? Or is it? Could we possibly get more funds from FDOT? Since it was a year and a half ago, naturally they would expect the cost to be more, plus the additional engineering inspection costs. So maybe we could wait to see if we can get extra money before we dig into our pockets to go forward. So that might be another reason to table it.
Do you have a motion to move forward on anything?
I'd like to make a motion that we table this, at least until the next meeting, and come to get some answers here. One, can we reduce the price? We need to look at these funds, make double sure, because now I'm getting confusing information on that. I definitely don't want to just put this thing to bed yet, and say we got it here, and, we come back, and we may have a different perspective to go ahead and allot the money and do it.
So you're making a motion to table it in an effort to reduce the cost of the bid and check with DOT for increased funds.
Yes, check with DOT for the increased funds, and to make sure the funds that we have allocated for this other project, we are allowed, to shift them like we're doing.
Do you have a second on that?
I'll second.
Excuse me. Good. Make a roll, please.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Sorry.
Next thing on the agenda is the peddler's ordinance, second reading. Would you have any comment on it? 8?
The changes that were requested were made in paragraph, excuse me, paragraph A. The, Tim, you'll have to refresh my memory, it was language regarding fowl and fruit stands and,
Yes, sir. The document in your packet shows the change on that provision, and I clarified it to be essentially, roadside stands or farmer's market. I also added a word in the next provision. I gave out this morning the clean version of that same document. So you have both the red line change from the last meeting as well as the clean version for this meeting.
Do you have a motion for a second reading?
I'll make a motion for the second reading of the peddler ordinance.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Do you have a motion and a second? Tammy, take a roll, please.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Read that when you're ready, Tammy.
Okay. Ordinance 848. An ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending ordinance number 581 codified in chapter 111 of the Code of Ordinances, adding definitions, clarifying licensing and operational requirements, providing for violations and penalties, providing for inclusion in the code, repeal of conflicting provisions, severability, correction of scrivener's errors and liberal construction, and providing for an effective date.
Very good. We're open to the public. Any comments on ordinance 848? No citizens' comments on 848. We'll go ahead and move to the table. Any comments?
You need a motion to adopt.
Okay. Make a motion to approve or adopt.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 848.
I'll second it.
And take a roll, please.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Moving on to ordinance 851, beach and dune protection. Chris?
this is a follow-up to the first read that we had. As the council may recall, there was some confusion regarding the protected beach area or protected area. The zoning map has the entire, excuse me, essentially the entire beach from county line to city line as protected area. The description in the LDC only indicated the protected areas being between the 8th Street outfall and Gulf County line. This new version addresses that to protect the entire beach from county line to city line, and also includes language explaining the changes that need to be made to the LDC.
Actually, the comp plan,
Or,
future land
sorry.
use map.
Thank you.
Tammy, do you have the second page of our agenda? Yeah, just one. In the shuffle of papers, I lost my second page, so, sorry.
It's up there somewhere.
Alright. Ordinance 858, we get a second reading.
It'd be a first reading, I believe, yeah. It's 8:51.
Second reading.
We,
Agenda says
yeah, it was, that was my mistake. We actually ended up tabling it on first read, so rather than a second read, this is a continuation of the first read.
We'll just do first reading.
We have a motion on first read.
Make a motion on the first read of ordinance 851 by title only.
I'll second it.
Tammy? Roll please.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Ordinance 851. An ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending the beach and dune protection zone in section 4.0304C, codifying ordinance number 711, adding chapter 99 of the city of Mexico Beach Code to create to be entitled Beach and Dune Protection, relating to protection of the city's beaches and dunes, establishing the purpose and intent of the article, creating definitions, prohibiting certain activities in order to protect the city's dune system, identify permanent activities, and providing for enforcement and penalties, and providing for a repealer, codification, severability, and an effective date.
Okay, open the public discussion.
Rob Crease, MD. First of all, I want to say thank you for even bringing this ordinance up. I was the one who got in a confrontation with the moron who's walking over the dunes continuously. He even got in a confrontation with the deputy. He'll do whatever he wants because, the state law says you can do that. You just can't pick them. And now that we're getting all the dunes redone, and the walkways are going to be a while down the road, if this isn't done, you're going to have walkways everywhere. Even before Michael came, we had all the walkways going over the beaches, and you still had about 6 trails along 98 in between the boardwalks because people are too lazy to, walk to either one. But you have to do this because if you don't, like I said, that idiot that I dealt with, he'll just keep doing this continuously because he knows he can get away with it. And there's nothing in there to stop it. They're spending, $24 million? We need to make sure that this stays in place. Thank you.
Any other comments, open public? Close that discussion at the table, anything?
We got it right, Attorney?
All right, no discussion from the table, we're going to move on to FROC, which is our personal policy amendment. Chief Walker, when you get done, you can just stay up there, it looks like.
Morning, Council. The first one we have is, I gotta look at my list now, FROC. So this is basically, FROC is our system by which we get reimbursed for expenses during emergency scenarios. So this particular small piece that we need to put into our policy is in regards to the payment, the giving of meals to those people in emergency situations, be it at the EOC or be it out in the field, that we can feed them whilst they're here during those emergencies, because there may not be any restaurants or anything else in town for them to get their meals at. If we incur those costs now, we would not get reimbursement from FEMA. If we put this small paragraph in, basically that paragraph says that we will give them free meals, therefore we will get a reimbursement. It's as simple as that. If we put this in, we get money from FEMA. If we don't, we ourselves are going to have to pay for it.
And we have not in the past.
At the moment, Well, the way it worked in Michael, if you remember, this doesn't happen very often, thankfully, right? Michael was the first time in most people's living memory that we had such a complete wipeout of Mexico Beach, and therefore there was nothing here for us other than to bring food in from the outside. We were fortunate. We had Camp Happy Tummies, they paid for all of that, we didn't pay for any of it. The city didn't incur any significant costs in food last time around because there was such an influx of help to Mexico Beach. But that won't always be the case. In a Cat 2 or a Cat 3, you may not get the same influx of help, therefore there would be a cost on the city. If the city is to incur those costs at the moment, we would not get reimbursement. If we place this paragraph into our policy, we are then covered that this is what the city does for their employees, therefore they can get reimbursement for it as long as we keep the proper records for our expenditure.
Are we okay with the amendment to the policy and procedure amendment?
Can I ask a question, Mayor? Where are you intending this to be inserted?
We were going to put it into the labour policy. That's basically where FROC. So I'm sure you've heard about FROC, but FROC is hundreds and hundreds of different questions looking for different scenarios.
I just wanted to know where you were.
Perfect, and they've actually said it should be in our labour policy.
Okay.
Yeah. Or an employee handbook, same scenario.
Everybody all right with that? Any questions?
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm good.
You need a motion to adopt it. Yes.
I make a motion that we amend the policies and procedures per FROG requirements to allow eligibility for meals during emergency situations. Good enough?
Second.
Any care roll, please?
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. All right, so up to mutual agreement.
So this is basically mutual aid agreement between the city of Panama City Fire Department and Mexico Beach Fire Rescue. It is a case of we can call on them for aid and they can call on us for aid in a time of emergency. Neither time do we have to go. It is a case of they would ask us for help if we have the assets in town and the manpower in town, we can go and help them. Vice versa, if we need help here in town, we can ask them for help. If they have the assets available, they will come and help us. Yes, we will be paying our own people. They will not be paying us back for that short space of time. Classic example, when we had that big woods fire up 231 a couple of years ago, we sent an engine from Mexico Beach and 3 of our firefighters. They're our neighbors. They would do the same for us. This is basically, we've never had a mutual aid agreement with the City of Panama City. We do have one at the moment with the Air Force Base, with Gulf County, and also, believe it or not, with Panama City Beach. There's a great rapport between all of the fire departments in Bay County at the moment, and we're all very happy to help each other out. And this is just one of those little pieces of paper that's missing for us to be able to help them and them to be able to help us.
Do we have it with our closest partners?
We do, yeah. Either side of us, Gulf County and the Air Force, we have mutual aid agreements with both of them, yes. And we have had since before I was in this position.
So these are just additional.
Exactly. Everybody learns what happens in Michael, and then with the woods fire, and everybody just wants to be sure that we're all there to help each other when the chips are down.
Do we need a vote on that?
Yes, sir, but
Yeah.
since I didn't prepare this, I do want to point out there is a typo for, if I'm going to certify it, I'm not the city attorney of Callaway.
Yes, I'm aware. Yes, that is what actually came from them. We will change that before we have it typed out. Yes. Before we have it signed.
You copied the form.
Exactly. I spotted it late last night, and I didn't have time to get them to send me another one because it's actually not it's not a Word document that they sent me. So we'll get that changed.
Motion for approval with change.
So, we're gonna make a motion for acceptance of mutual aid agreement for fire protection with Panama City. Is that it?
With small change to the attorneys.
With a small change to the attorney's name to the city.
I'll second.
Roll, please.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. and VFD, side by side.
So when we started back in, what was it, June, July last year with the budget, there was talk at that point about us replacing our side by side, and I was going out for a grant. I went out for the grant, and unfortunately we didn't get it. Okay, but the reason I went out for the grant was that we needed a new side by side. I was a little bit more confident that I would get it than obviously I should have been, because we didn't get it. This has left us still needing obviously a side by side. The present one was bought by the department's 501c3 back in 2017. It was lost in the storm, replaced with insurance money. So we're still in theory on the same money paid for, paid by the 501c3 rather than by the city back in 2017. It's done 6 full seasons on the beach. When I talked to Surf Rescue in Bay County, they say they get 3, maybe 4 years out of their side-by-sides on the beach, so we've already beaten them by 2. Not only does it get used for numerous calls to service on the beach and daily patrols and so forth, it is also was used for 2 to 3 years to do leave no trace on the beach, until we decided the wear and tear on it was getting too great, so we then went back to Public Works and asked them, can we have one of their trucks to do leave no trace. So it's been a great workhorse for the city, but it is showing its age. We had thought about selling it if we were lucky enough to get the grant, use the money from this auction to do lights and sirens and so on and so forth on the new one, and anything else that it might be able to do. Obviously, at the last time I talked to the city administrator, he said he would like to try and keep it in-house, as in the city, to be used possibly by code enforcement, by Public Works, if they needed one, and or as a backup. It is still working, it is just seriously, it's been well used. And what I don't want to happen is to find us being called to the beach and having no method by which to get to the beach. It is the only 4x4 that we, the city, have in the way of UTV, ATV, side-by-side, whatever you'd like to call it, to be able to get to the beach right now. So that is basically the reason why I'm here today asking for us to replace it. We have got funds in our impact fees. Those funds are eligible to be used. I've double checked with the city attorney. We have also looked it up ourselves, and you can use impact fees to buy something towards growth. Well, first things first, the city has never actually bought a side-by-side with fire funds of any shape, form or size. It was bought by an outside entity, our 501c3, that belongs to the fire department. So,
Towards growth of the city.
yeah, as in growth, no, for the fire department, right? You've never had a side-by-side that the city paid for. This was a donation to the city by a 501c3. So that is one, you can do that. You can use it primarily to buy fire and or police vehicles, right? So it is 100%, both ways it's covered. We've never had one in the city bought by the city. It has been used to buy a fire apparatus. Both are legally allowed with impact fees. So we hit it on both sides. Yes, sir.
So we're going to address this one at a time, which is good.
Absolutely, yes.
So a couple of questions on the UTV, since we're doing that. You had 3 bids. Obviously, you went with the lowest, which is U-Force XL, or this is the bank CF motto. Did you do any? Obviously, we want to spend as less money,
Right.
but obviously, we want a piece of equipment if we're going to move with this.
Right.
Good quality. I
Yep.
mean, I've never heard of that. The other one was a Polaris, and then we had a Can-Am in here.
Well,
What was your feedback on this model?
the model that we are buying is used both by Panama City Beach and Bay County on the beaches at the moment.
Have you gotten any feedback?
And they have, like all of them, they require maintenance to stop them from rusting and so on and so forth, but they have come back positive that they have been good workhorses.
The warranties are.
The warranties are good. It's a local. It's a local vendor. It's he works very well with both police and fire, rather than the Can-Am was out of Alabama. The Viking that we got from Cycles may not actually be on there. but we had issues with this Viking from Panama City Cycles, and their services weren't great. So the reason I went with this was, it was the lowest bid, as well as I got positive feedback from other users of their equipment, that they are good, and they have a good.
So this
after-sales
Ward's is in Troy.
The reason I asked them was because the Sheriff's Department uses Troy Can-Am in Alabama,
Okay.
but they came out so expensive. And you know, so I mean that's $22,000 for one of them.
Yeah,
versus
one
16,000.
was 18 and
18 and a half,
and
you know,
22,
yeah.
329, and then just the lowest one was
Yeah.
16, 498.
I mean, we do an extensive post-season maintenance on these. We touch up all the rust. We cut up, you know, we
So,
remove the rust, galvanize it, respray it. So every year when it goes out there is no visible rust as it starts the new season. So we do our best, and that's why it lasted 6 years versus 3 to 4 years.
another question for you as far as the impact fee funds. I know you've asked, I've talked to him, I've talked to Mike. But before we start spending them, what in the foreseeable future, we got a budget coming in, I know, 6 months. Are we using those impact fees for the right? Do we have things coming up? Do you know? I mean, obviously you're going to be coming up and talking to us about this vehicle too.
Okay, putting the vehicle aside, right? The only other big thing that's going to hit us relatively soon, but it's still a number of years down the road, is the fact that all of our equipment in the way of PPE, our bunker gear, our helmets, our boots, our gloves, they have a 10-year lifespan. They were obviously, most of them replaced in 2018. So in 2028, we're going to have a big hit on all of that equipment.
And how much?
Each one
I
of
should
those.
know this, but what is he had said about our parks and recs? What are we drawing in per year
About 15,000, 15,000 a year.
off the fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, so if you take it, there's 10 people in the fire department, and the cost of that equipment is $3,000 to $3,500. You're looking at $35,000 to replace all that equipment.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Just a question,
Yeah,
before
but
we
I'm
start
not certain
spending
we
it
could.
now.
I'm not certain we could use impact fees to replace that, because that's like with like. Now, if we were to have 15 people in the fire department, because you're growing the fire department, then I could use the impact fees for the extra 10, with the extra 5 people on top of the 10 that we have at the moment.
I think what you're hearing, I mean, I know you're up there fighting for, for a truck and a UTV. I know you're up there fighting for that. I got that. What you're hearing from this table, I think, is that our planning, if we do budgeting, and then all of a sudden we jump in the middle, and we take a capital item, and all of a sudden throw it into it, just because it says we can.
I
doesn't
totally
mean
agree
we
with you.
should.
But both these items were actually discussed at the early stages of the budget.
Well, at the earlier stage of the budget, you had $10,000.
But no, okay, if we go back to the first time we actually did a presentation up here and we talked about the vehicles that needed to be replaced, one of them was the fire vehicle. Right, it was the white vehicle that's outside, that hasn't basically moved in 6 months because it has an electrical issue that we can't fix. And it's a 2007 vehicle.
Okay, now we're talking about the cheap.
But I mean, because you kind of brought both of them in together. I did try at the budget time to say, this is my plan moving forward, this is what I'm trying to do. I am trying to basically go out and get a grant to replace this. We, in theory, put in $10,000, which would have been the 50%, well, that's what, in theory, that money that's in 6,400 was put in for us to pay up front to then get the money back. The issue was, it never happened. We didn't get the grant. Therefore, we don't have the money to go out and buy the side-by-side, but the need for the side-by-side is still there.
You didn't get the $10,000 grant.
Well, I was hoping to make it 100%. The 10,000 was put in there as a backstop, so to speak, but it didn't happen.
Okay.
The whole thing fell flat on its face because we didn't get a grant, and we're not going into why we did or who it was with or anything else like that, because that's another ball game altogether. But I had made the plan. It just did. I've written that grant numerous times, and I've got that grant every single time. So maybe I was full of my own importance, for want of a better expression. I thought I was going to get it this time, and I didn't.
Okay,
Right.
I'm just trying to read the table, okay, because I'm hearing the same thing that I'm thinking, is basically, these should be budgeted items.
100%.
Okay, so these should be budgeted items, whether it says in a impact fee that we can spend on capital, whatever, I
Fair
got
enough.
that.
I don't
But
disagree.
we're 6 months into the budget.
Mhm.
We're looking good, all our expenditures are looking good, everything's right. Would it be better for us to take, I mean, I'd almost suggest that we take and, if you wanna take funds out, we know that we get 15,000 a year. I've already checked on that, we have about $147,000 in that account.
Mhm.
We receive 15,000 every year.
Mhm.
To buy a side-by-side, $16,000. Should we maybe take those funds, buy the $16,000 vehicle out of the impact fees?
Mhm.
And then over the next 6 months, budget for a new vehicle?
The issue we have with the new vehicle, now, okay, so we're now moving to the next ask as such, because we brought it into the conversation. We have utility 43, right, which is the white, old Chevy Silverado that sits outside, that is basically not moved for 6 months because it has an electrical problem that we cannot find. When I say we, both ourselves and our maintenance department cannot find it, right?
So we decided
They
that.
basically,
Crash or
they try to find it, it works for a week or two, and then it dies again. They're not 100% certain what it is, right, okay? So it's basically, at the moment, the last 2 days, just before this meeting, to prove to myself that it still doesn't work properly. I was with Mark when I did it both times. I went out there, I turned the vehicle on, turned the key, it starts for a moment and cuts out, and that's it, and it goes nowhere. Okay, so right now that vehicle is completely useless.
Not a very good emergency vehicle.
Absolutely not. But on top of that, yesterday, having had a chat with Troy before, and Troy looked at my vehicle because I thought it was my front left bearing on my truck, the truck that I drive, because there was a noise coming from it. He put it up on the ramp yesterday. He has basically come back to me to say that either one or both, my transfer case and my front differential on the truck that I drive at highest speeds to come into the city are not functioning properly and could basically stop functioning completely. So that can't be put into four-wheel drive at the moment either. So right now, you have a vehicle that cannot be driven in four-wheel drive, cannot go onto the beach, cannot do the job for which it is in theory designed to do. It can't be replaced or repaired because I have no other vehicle with lights and sirens on it to drive to work so that I can be here when I need to be here at whatever speed I need to be here. We are basically somewhat dead in the water right now, is the brutal story.
The 2016 that you're.
The 2016 with
that you're currently
163,000 miles on it. That
The
went beaten up
2016
through,
that you're currently driving
yeah.
has some issues.
Has some serious issues from what we discovered yesterday. He was actually able to grab the drive shaft whilst in four-wheel drive low box. So it's in gear. That drive shaft should never stop turning. He held the drive shaft. It would turn and then it would stop until something caught up with it and it would start again.
Stop driving that and get it fixed.
But I can't. I've got nothing else to drive.
Well, we need to go rent a car, whatever we need
But,
to do.
but renting a car doesn't help because it doesn't have lights and sirens on it.
Do not drive a vehicle that is unsafe.
But then I can't respond when I'm needed to respond.
We
I know,
need
but
to
I mean,
come
that's
up
the
with-
problem.
we need-
That's
but
where I stand right now.
We're talking a budget and then we're talking an actual incident.
I
You cannot be
understand.
driving a
I only
vehicle
found it
that
out
is unsafe.
yesterday, Mayor. So I haven't gotten around to dealing with that problem yet, right?
Can I ask you?
I'd like to ask a question, if you don't mind, me, Mr.
Go
Howard
ahead.
ain't said a word.
You go ahead.
I mean, I understand him, I understand you. We went from the side-by-side to the truck.
Oh, it's combined in the same one.
Well,
Same.
well, it might be for you, on your page is different, you know, I'm on it. I'm interested in the side-by-side, because I'm a firm believer in buying local. I bought tractors and all the equipment in my life. You can't get parts for them, you don't buy them.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind, we're going back now to get
Yeah,
that where we
yeah,
started. And this, he brought it up, Adam did, but the U-Force XL, what is that? That you buying used? And my that's what you said, wasn't it?
No, it's not used, it's brand new.
Why don't we buy, can you get parts for them?
Absolutely,
They
yes.
got-
No,
they-
that was again one of my questions, is there any issues with parts? She said no.
But
there's
it
not
is
issues with
something we
parts.
can get service, so we can buy everything.
Right here in Panama City.
And Panama said, well, I agree with that. I mean, I think that's what, my opinion was, if we couldn't, if you didn't check on it, let's buy a Yamaha.
Honest answer, I wouldn't buy another Yamaha if you gave me your money to pay for it. Because their service was very poor over the last 6
Well,
years.
that's what you go by. That's what you buy a vehicle from, is service, or tractor.
I'd say that. Okay.
And I mean, I think the mayor's sort of hard on you about don't drive an unsafe vehicle. I don't think you would drive an unsafe vehicle if it was gonna break
It just
down.
can't be put into four-wheel drive at the moment.
Please, let me get there.
Yeah.
I think you need to drive your vehicle, not unless you, and rent a car, that's more money coming out of our city. To my opinion, if you need a truck that bad, we need to make some kind of arrangement. And if we got the impact fees and we got this money we can take, now I'm for the side by side, cause that's something they use every day. We're gonna start using it on a regular basis. That's something we've got to have, is another side by side. And for your truck, I mean, if we got the money and yours is in this bad a shape, and that's what we got this money for, especially in the, fire impact fee, I reckon just me, I must be getting wrong about it. And I know we got a budget, I know we should stay in a budget, but sometimes the ox gets in the ditch. And we have to get him out. And if there's no other way to get him out or get the truck fixed, besides purchasing the truck, then for me, I say let's purchase the truck.
If I can say something, and I don't normally blow my own trumpet, but maybe I kind of need to. When I became the chief here, we had one fire truck. A second, the small one was ordered, but there was no equipment in that truck. The city didn't pay for one penny of the equipment in that truck. It was all done through grants and or money raised by the 501c3. Likewise was the side-by-side. Likewise, a lot of the extrication equipment was got by a grant. I have not come to the city and asked for money. The ladder truck was got by a grant. All the equipment in the ladder truck was got by a grant. Most of the PPE that we get can be got through grants over time with VFA. I do a VFA grant every year, Volunteer Fire Association grant, because although we're not a volunteer fire department, we're a small enough department that we qualify for that. I get one of those every year. I'm in the process of doing one right now for bailout gear, so the guys can basically bail out of a 3-story building on a lifeline should everything go completely wrong when they're up there, right? All this equipment we have at no expense to the city. This is possibly the first time I've come here, other than for personnel costs, that I've come here and asked to spend money over and above what we budgeted for, and to buy equipment. It's the first time I've actually asked you to buy physical equipment and or apparatus since I've been the chief here in almost 8 years. It's just, it's the reality of the reality we standing right now. We got caught. I didn't get the grant I wanted to get. I'm here asking for help.
Okay.
My truck didn't work.
Grant was for $10,000 for a vehicle, right, for a SUV. For
The
a-
grant could have been, no, the last 3 grants I got from those particular individuals was a 100% grant.
What was the last grant that you were trying to get that you didn't get? Was it for?
This is the only grant that I've written that I've never got,
For what?
for the side-by-side.
That's what I thought, okay. For the side-by-side, not the SUV.
No,
Okay. Can we solve the problem with the, if you want, they're both on the agenda.
Absolutely.
Okay? That's why we're talking about it.
yeah,
Your life is more important to me than a truck or a vehicle or anything else. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel.
I hear you.
Okay, so if you're telling me it's bad to drive, don't drive it.
I was told just not to drive it in 4-wheel drive, which means I can't drive it on the beach and do certain things that I would want to be able to do with it.
Okay, you got what I think the council's saying. Okay.
I'm gonna let Ms. Hampton speak.
Thank you.
I think Sandy always does his research, and he is very conservative in his spending. I do trust his judgment. As our city is growing, I think he's ahead of that understanding of the needs that we will have in the near future. And I trust his judgment, and I really think we should go with his suggestions.
And my only question was, because there's been a lot of talk,
Mhm.
these impact fees, whatever account they're in,
Mhm.
what's the lifespan? Are we in, in the fire department, is there a lifespan on the
I
fire
believe it's the same
department?
as it is with every other one, but, and we have not, we've not used them since 2016. It's the last time any impact fees were used by the fire department.
Okay, well, I'm ready to make a motion. Y'all ready?
Let me just
Wait a minute.
ask a quick question here. Do you not feel comfortable with waiting 6 months to get an SUV? And we can okay the side-by-side right now.
Honest answer, one of the things that the UTV does get used for is if one of the fire guys wants to go down to grab something from one of the shops or whatever, so they're not driving backwards and forwards with our trucks. Since it's been down, the mini pumper got hit in a collision with a member of the public who drove into the front driver's side wheel of the mini pumper. Right? Would not have happened if the utility truck was in service.
Mini pumpers,
The mini pumper is a smaller fire truck, the little Ford F550. It's still a fire engine, but we call it a mini pumper because it's only got 300 gallons in the tank. And it's not as big as the one out here. It's just, it's a nickname for it, for want of a better expression.
So your answer is no.
So, honest answer, we're putting things at risk when we have the ability to be able to change this. And it's not that I don't agree with you, but is 6 months going to make a huge difference in the spending of those impact fees? Would be
I
my
asked the
question
same
to you.
question of you.
I don't believe, but my question would be, if we spend it now, does it make any difference whether we spend it in October?
Or you mean spending it budgeted versus
Exactly,
paying out
yeah.
of it?
I mean, because it's the first time in 7 or 8 years I've asked for anything outside of my budget line items to be bought in front of it.
But you and I both understand that we work off of capital items,
Absolutely,
through a
100%.
budget that goes over a year.
And I've done my best to make that happen over the last 7 years, but I've been caught with my pants down, for want of a better expression, however you want to say it. You know, I'm in a situation where I would not be here if I didn't believe that these two things are necessary.
I'm ready when you get it.
I'm ready to make a motion to use the fire department impact fees for the purchase of the SUV in the amount of $63,622.40 and the UTV purchase in the amount of $16,498. Should be a total of $80,120.40 out of the impact.
And we'd be using, just so you know, we're using
We
5
need to
months.
complete the motion, I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, you could.
Sorry. We have a
Go.
second on that motion?
I'll second it.
And take a vote.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. I believe that is me done.
Yeah, good job, thank you.
But just so you know, we are using 501c3 funds to light up the side-by-side as well, so we're not trying to help out in that one.
This is not going back, but
Yeah,
the one you're driving,
right.
get it out. I mean,
Well, then what
when
we're
you
gonna do is the
get
second we
this, get
get,
that thing out of service.
as soon as we can, we'll get it fixed.
I don't know if it's,
Come back to us with that.
We'll work something.
All right, we're moving on from, to the position, name, duty, and reporting changes that are being suggested.
We are requesting 3 changes to be made at this time. One is the reporting structure for utility billing, and then 2 are the job descriptions for utility billing code enforcement clerk and utility billing supervisor. So the addition of the finance director has given us the opportunity to take a look at the reporting structure to do what makes sense based on some of our job types. The utility billing supervisor, we're proposing making utility billing specialist, since that position doesn't actually supervise anybody. Prior to my arrival, that was under the city administrator, then that got moved to under the utilities director. So my suggestion is, let's move that to under the finance director, which is where that actually makes sense, since she's dealing with finances. And then since she's not a supervisor, let's change that to the specialist position. That's more in line with the job duties. The other change that we're requesting is just the job description and title for utility billing / code enforcement clerk. That's now going to be the cash application specialist, which is more in line with the duties that she's doing. So this is just some renaming and moving of one position. We work with finance on this to figure out what those job duties should be, what they're actually doing, and bring the job description more in line. So the two job descriptions are following the abstract. Pay scales, there is no current change in pay scale. We are reviewing all pay scales as part of the next budget process to see what makes sense. And we'll present those at this time, but there is no extra cost right now.
Well, in fact, wouldn't those pay scales go down with new hires?
Correct. The actual expenditures go down. Right.
So we had a utility person who was called a utility billing supervisor with nobody to supervise.
Correct.
Code enforcement assistant was not doing any code enforcement?
No.
I think this changes sound pretty logical.
Hey, I'm gonna let y'all speak to
For me, you gotta give me some names, you know, I mean, the code enforcement, what did that fall? Who's that position?
Code enforcement is currently, well, the code enforcement clerk is currently Vanessa.
Oh, I didn't know we had that. So now, who's getting this job, the code enforcement?
It's going to be a new person.
A new person?
Yes, which is what's doing this. So what we've done, Mary is.
I got a question.
Sure.
That's not what I'm reading. I'm reading we had an assistant that assisted code enforcement. What they're saying is that assistant is no longer gonna assist, we're just gonna have the code enforcement officer. Is that what I'm reading?
Correct.
Okay.
That helped me out a lot, I mean.
Help me.
Let me get, the finance position, that's to the,
Reports to finance. director.
finance department, cash applicant special. Man, who is that? You,
No, that's Vanessa currently right now.
Vanessa.
Yes.
Vanessa got 2 jobs.
Well, the code enforcement part she never participated in, didn't have any activity in doing it all. So that's why we were removing it from the job description. And we redid a new job description to fully describe what that position actually entails.
Maybe y'all get
Can I go ahead and interject mine? I mean, they do sound like they're getting, would be best realigned, like you said. Apparently, Garrett got given the job to supervise Sherry and Vanessa at some point. I heard it was in the last 3 years by the previous administration. My concerns are, just say not concerns. One, I felt like the financial part should have came with this part. I felt like if we were gonna go ahead and bring new positions or realigning, that we should have just brought the pay scales at this point instead of waiting. That's just mine. The other thing is nothing against Mike. Mike has only been here a few months. I'm hoping Mike stays here. We hadn't had anybody before Mike really in that position, so we're talking about moving people under him. If something happens there's nobody for them to answer to. I mean, I know we will have to meet and fall back, but I was, until I read this, I thought Sherry answered to the administrator, but apparently at some time in the last few years, when I heard when Doug was here, that was realigned. And I don't think she should be under Garrett. I mean, it doesn't make sense. But I just wanted to bring that up. One, I would have had liked the pay scales to have come to the table with the couple of new positions to just, we'll be done with it. And then two, if something does happen, these people really aren't answering to, there won't be anybody in the chair. That was a couple of nights.
I think we should bring it up, Jason, if Mike decides to leave, if you have 3 people that will report to him, I think that could happen with almost any position. I mean,
It could.
the chief could leave and all of a sudden the firefighters have.
Well, it's just I think I'm saying, cause he's
Yeah,
he's
no, I
new,
got you, yeah,
you know, that's all.
I got you.
And
Still inappropriate.
And that was just a little thing to discuss, but it really was, my thing would have been, that I wish we could have brought the pay scales.
What I see here is I see all the financial, anybody that has anything to do with money is reporting to the financial group. I think we cleaned up what we thought was an assistant to code enforcement that was not doing assistant to code enforcement.
You're not hiring anybody for any of these jobs, no?
You will when you move Vanessa from the front desk to Sherry's position, so you have to hire the front desk, which is the cash.
And we were talking about, this is on another note, you know, who's under the financial, but previously, you know, we just hired a new, what is her title, financial, Caitlin's title?
Staff accountant. Staff accountant.
And that staff accountant was answering to, and that's the way
That position didn't change.
that's the way it's been.
Correct, yes.
I thought they were answering to you. We didn't have anybody, but, okay.
We didn't have nobody.
But if that's the way it read, that's the way it read.
Yeah.
Anything else at the table?
You know, I just think that the change in the titles makes perfect sense because it better describes the job position. And it just makes perfect sense to me that anything you do with cash and finances would report to our financial director and be under his supervision. I think he would be more able to help them in their jobs.
Any other comments at the table? We're good to move forward and let the city administrator go ahead and put this in play with the finance director.
Yeah, I would recommend that, so it's official.
Make a motion to approve these changes.
Yes, sir.
Anybody?
So we're making a motion to approve the changes in position names, duty, and reporting changes. Is that right?
Yes.
Have a second. Do we have a second? All right, we don't have a second.
Yeah, you do.
Got a second. Go ahead. Take a roll, please.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Moving on to the city clerk annual evaluation.
She failed.
The city clerk's been given evaluations over the last week or so, or last couple of weeks by the council. And it's time to make up our minds what that increase is. Chris, you have any input on the numbers or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. The city clerk is the other person within the municipality that answers directly to the council. Her wages are set by the council. She serves at the pleasure of the council. In my conversations with other staff, as well as council members, everybody is under the agreement that Tammy does a phenomenal job. And I think that in my opinion, if I had the ability to provide a raise, it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 13%. Just based on the job duties that she's doing. She's actually begun the process of the certification, and the work that she puts in, I think, is high quality and very good. So that would be my recommendation to the council.
What's the effect of 8%?
Off the top of my head, $4,000.
5,041.
531.
So what's the effect of 13%?
Let me look that up for you. 11.
What's the kid?
I'm sorry?
11.
8,193.
And what's the current salary?
Current salary 63,024. Anybody know the average of what a city clerk makes in the area in Florida?
You know, Jim?
75 to 85,000 a year.
Now, don't be for a big head over there now, let's come up with that much money for her.
I'm just giving you, I mean, we need to make a decision on what the increase
So
is. I'm not-
what was the increase at the budget? Everybody, let me go back, and then there was a previous, Tammy, you may say it could have been with the previous, and it may be already a year passed. But there was a big discussion at the table before I was here about her pay, and it was under, and there was a raise given then. How long ago was that, Tammy?
That was last year.
That was the last year, probably this,
I had,
Uh,
actually, I was skipped over a year
Okay.
and was not given an increase. So the city administrator at that time took that into consideration because I had not received an increase. I was
Yeah.
skipped over.
And that was an $8,000 increase. The prior year, 2 years prior to that, it was about 5,000. So you're averaging somewhere about 4,200 a year in increases. That's what she's averaged since she's been here.
And what percentage would that be close to? Can you guess that?
That would be the 8-ish
I'd have to
percent.
back up their number, I didn't do that.
What about too, excuse me, is there any like, cost of living raise that all the employees will be getting this year? Would that be in addition to, is there,
You don't get that.
do we not do that?
Yes.
Okay.
You get that too, Tammy? You get 3%?
I did last year for the first time.
Okay.
Mhm.
So will that be this year on top of what we're talking here?
Not necessarily. The council approves the manager and the clerk separate from the other employees.
She received that last year in October 24.
24, okay.
So we run our year from October to September, so she received her 2025
COLA.
COLA.
Mhm.
Okay.
For the first time, yes.
Correct. I'm gonna give the first suggestion, I think my evaluation was very good for Tammy, she exceeded in all areas. I did have some suggestions, that we talked a little bit about. I think we gave her the 8%. The 8% is about 800 more a year than what we have done over the last 3 years. So I'm okay with the 5,000 at 8%.
and that would take her to around 65.
68.
I see more of 10. I do. That'd be how much, would I ask you? What was the difference? between that?
10% would be about $6,300.
That's what I wouldn't,
I mean, we don't have the crystal ball on what we're gonna do in 6 months. I mean, I'm all for people having their cost of living, so I'm already in that court, so that's gonna come up, I mean, so somewhere in, I'm definitely good with 8, I could, it's, it's the table, I don't know where the number is.
What page is it, the age?
You would think too, Mr.
I think with the remainder of the COLA, like you mentioned, we need to make sure she keeps getting the COLA.
Yeah, I don't know what reason she didn't get the
In
COLA,
the past.
and that's in the past, but we'll review that in budget time. You good with that?
Do we have a motion to move forward?
So I'll make a motion to increase, Tammy Brunson's salary, 8% for the year.
And they did come up with the budget about the 3% too, but I think that's got a lot to do. We didn't never put that in the budget for her. That's why she didn't get it that
Do
year.
we need to include that, Tim?
And remain on the
COLA?
COLA?
They gonna cover.
Then that's an 11%.
I'd give it that.
Effective when?
Is that effective immediately? Is that what we're thinking?
The
Since she
8%'s
just had- Well, they're not the
immediate.
COLA.
The COLA.
Yeah, but the 8%, because she just had her annual review, then I would think that would be effective.
I didn't know if we could even say that now, because I figured we had to get to the budget, because we don't know who's gonna get all the COLA if something happens and we have to. I mean, I think everybody should get a cost of living, but we don't know.
Just for your information, she is covered over 25% increase in 2025 in our current budget. That's what was put in there.
City clerk.
City clerk 6663, brought her up to 75.8, is a 25% increase. So if we give her an 8, she's covered. And the COLA.
What was, okay. Okay.
All right, can we
Yeah.
get back to the motion?
Do I need to repeat the motion?
Yeah, you
Okay.
need to make sure it's clear.
Okay, so, I want to make a motion to give Tammy Brunson, the city clerk, her annual raise of 8%, effective immediately, along with the COLA.
That's what I'm here to
The 8%, not the COLA.
May I have a second?
Please do it. I hate to, but I will.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
The roll, please.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes, with pleasure.
Thank you. That was torture.
Welcome to public meetings. All right, moving on, we have I guess a little bit of going on, that the election day is on April the 22nd, so we're asking because the clerk will be gone and downtown, and I think Julie, and maybe a couple other people has asked to move that meeting. Are we okay? I don't think we have the ability to actually just not have it. I think we should have it in that week. Is a Wednesday or Thursday good for anybody?
I would go with Wednesday.
So, only question. The election's on Tuesday. Haven't we historically installed new
Election's over.
when the election's over with? So
Tim, what
we're
is
asking somebody to vote on something that,
I probably won't. I'm gonna ask Ken.
Yeah, what's the,
What's the
here in May
timetable?
County, what is the timetable from the vote to the swearing in?
Well, that depends in your documents. Each governmental entity may have a different time frame.
The election won't actually be certified until Friday, that Friday. So even though the vote happens on
I really
Tuesday,
couldn't do it.
we have to go back to the supervisor of elections on Friday for it to be
That's right.
certified.
Yeah, we do that.
So so.
So we
nothing
could
would
hold a
take
meeting
place
Wednesday and still be,
As you are.
Okay.
One more day there, Jerry.
it's just a legal question, I just wanted to be
Is
sure.
Wednesday good for everybody?
Wednesday, 23rd.
Yeah, right. You're the one that's.
I don't know what to do. Whoever wins my seat can sit right here. I can sit right there.
Are you okay attending on a Wednesday? You still be a fit?
If I make it, I got there.
Well, if you don't wanna, I mean, you know,
I got there.
Okay.
Go with that.
All right, we'll move the meeting to Wednesday, please.
that'd be a night meeting, right?
Late one, yep. That's correct. Okay, who gave me my back page? Do we need to talk about CD renewal?
Yeah, you had that,
Okay, it wasn't on the agenda, we're just adding that in.
That was a separate email that I sent out to the council.
Here, Mike.
I just read it off of his paper and gave me.
When did the email come, this morning or something?
No, I saw his now, he gave hints that, he wrote it down.
Yeah, that came out yesterday. In short, we have 4 CDs. Mike, correct me if I actually do want to speak to this.
Well, yeah, you got it right now. Yeah, we have 4 CDs that were up for renewal on the 7th of March. And in previous meetings, well, last year they had a meeting to talk about the reissuance of them. We had some 6-month ones that there was no meeting, that we did not speak about any reissuance of. So I, and speaking with Chris, we were under the assumption that that rollover could be automatic. And then we spoke with Tammy and she said no, that there was something that was brought to the council, so we're bringing it to the council that they were scheduled to mature on the 7th. We have a 10-day grace period. I've gotten the new rates for the CDs. You have a 3-month CD rate is at 4.25%. We have a 6-month rate at 4.2% and a 12-month rate at 4.10%. We have 2 CDs that have that are in a 6-month term. And we have 2 CDs that are in a 12-month term currently. My recommendation is to have the 6 months roll into the 6 months and the 12 months to roll into the 12 months.
So just let it roll over at a lower rate
Yeah, but those are the best negotiated rates that we could get
for Centennial Bank.
for Centennial Bank, yes, sir.
We haven't checked with Wells Fargo or anybody else.
No, sir.
And why would we not do that?
Well, with the good relationship that we have with the bank and with the amount of currency that we have into the bank, that those rates have come across as pretty good.
So
Those rates were challenged when we first went in, okay? And we went to Wells Fargo, came back and got the rates changed at Centennial to match.
Okay.
So we have some leverage if we want.
All right.
But we need to know what, I mean, we're looking at, I'm not up here playing with my phone, I'm looking at our accounts and using my calculator, sorry. But we have 4 CDs. One of them's $1,099,000, the other one's $1,083,000, and there's one at $824,000, and there's another one at $270,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of interest. That $1 million, the $1 million interest pays us $12,000.
Correct.
That's a lot of money. I think we ought to, I would suggest calling Wells Fargo, at least get their rates.
But in my opinion, when we do that, we already know, if we've done this before, you can go take yours to another bank and he's probably gonna match it or do something with it. And I mean, we need to get all we get, but we shouldn't put out what they gonna give us and then go to another bank. Cause they gonna then say, well, yeah, I believe we can do better. Well, I don't think that's fair, in my opinion, how we do this. I think we're gonna put it out. Let's just, if it come in due, we got $1 million CD come due, what's your best rate you can get? Instead of, we got 4.3, what,
I have $3 million in my hand, I guarantee I'm gonna negotiate that
That's right.
$3 million.
That's exactly right, you got it in your hand. But you're not gonna go on the business side of it, which I know you very well at, you don't negotiate, to me, you don't do that. But they gonna,
So we got,
walk through and leave.
so we got 6 days. That's the main thing.
Got the 17th, yes, sir.
We got till, so we need to, I mean, you know, I don't know how we're gonna get other rates and negotiate and get to the 6th day.
Call today and ask, tell them the numbers which you have and ask what their rates are. We're not asking to say, hey, I'm gonna give you this if you can give me 2% more. We're not doing that right now. Right now, we just wanna know what their rate is for $3 million.
So Mike, in addition to that 3 million that we have in the CD, what's the other amount total that we have at Centennial Bank? About, I mean, I know what it is.
For all the other
Yeah.
accounts,
Mhm.
grand total,
14 million?
Yeah.
yep, 14
So
million.
that's, you know, it's pretty good business with it.
All right, so I'll get on the phone today.
Thank you.
Can we give him any direction
I
if
was
he
just-
finds the rates,
Yeah.
so we don't have to come, because we're gonna miss the table, like,
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that if we can get, agreement from the council to go with whichever bank offers the highest rate based on our research.
Yeah, I personally, if they only move it a certain percent, I wouldn't move it
yeah.
a 1/10 of a percent or something.
That's what I mean, I don't want you to get into the weeds on that either. So,
But then too, Mike, could we at least request what they're giving us now before it, because it's gonna, wasn't it 4.5 and 4.9, something like that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're decreasing that, so could we not at least use that as a bargaining tool if we wanted to stay with Centennial, at least give us what we have, considering the amount of money we have in the bank?
So it'd be a regular rollover.
Correct.
That's a good point.
Okay.
So should we set the guideline at 25 basis points, 0.25? If we can get a better rate than that, we'll switch. We'll still reach out to Centennial to get a better rate. But if we can't increase it by 0.25 or 1/4%, then we stay where it is. I don't want to take away the council's control over this, but it's, like I said, it's getting down kind of in the weeds.
I mean, I think that's fair enough if you give a 1/4%.
I mean, I think if they can't give us what we already had, then I think it's time to move on. And then if we tried to move on and they couldn't match that, then we would stay with them. If someone else can match the previous significantly, well then move on.
Yeah, I think, not, like I said, not to get on a huge discussion, but rates have dropped everywhere, all my stuff is,
Yeah.
I mean, all of us, if we
But-
have any CDs, the rates have dropped. But,
Yeah, 1/10 of a percent is gonna move you about $3,000–4,000. Probably about $4,000 on a yearly, just on 4 million. Just a 1/10 of a percent. So-
Our other option at this point is to go with just a 3-month renewal at the 4.25%, and that gives us time to research and come
No,
back.
I think Ms. Hamilton made a good suggestion. If they roll it over, let them roll it over. I'd find out what Wells Fargo says, and if Wells Fargo's is 2 or 3/10 of a percent, I'd go with them.
All right.
Jason?
What about Wells Fargo plus maybe Tyndall? I mean, isn't Tyndall kind of known for?
well, actually, at this point, we're shopping it, so it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go out to several banks.
Yeah, just trying to find out what the number is. We good?
Good, I'm ready.
Got my paper back? You go past that. I just want to make sure you know where we were going. All right, must be the paper beyond that, right? Holy moly. All right. We're gonna move on
Somebody just
to,
got a raise, and took the day off.
we got a full house at 9 o'clock in the morning here, that's pretty good. Couple hours in here, and we're gonna go ahead and move to citizens' comments. Before we get to citizens' comments, I just wanna, remind everybody that we're here at this table to listen to citizens' comments. Unfortunately, that could be a one-way conversation sometimes. Don't get disgruntled over that, because we make our decisions based on that one-way conversation. Public does not make the decision. Those decisions are made at this table based on your information and information we can dig into. So if you don't get a response, don't get upset. Open citizen comments.
No.
Give me Go ahead.
Bobby Pollock, 215 Kim Cove. I got several things to talk about. Number one, I want to praise and thank Tommy Davis for the work he's done for this city for all these years. I worked with him many years. I've been a good friend. He's been a good employee. He really helped serve us, especially after Michael. Him, his people, along with a lot of other people, have really brought this city back around where we're at today. And I'm proud to have him as a friend and a former employee. Which carries me to my next thing. I am very disappointed in the council in their selection of the city administrator. I feel like he is one of the reasons we lost Tommy a year earlier than we could have. I'm trying to run him off to be able to hire a friend of his, which I do not feel is qualified to be a public works director. He has very strong education, his resume is not, but I feel like that is, at the same time, I feel like he's going to attempt to run the code enforcer off, to probably do the same thing or whatever. Kathy came in after Michael, helped work with the citizens to improve this city, and just did a superb job. In the years I've been on the council, I've never seen anybody do that job any better than what she has done. I'm, again, very disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, get up there.
Good morning. My name is Gary Woodham. I live at 113 North 38th Street, Mexico Beach. I too wanted to thank Tommy. I was a city councilman here where y'all are, and I've lived here 27 years. Tommy, I've known Tommy ever since he was hired here. He was hired while I was the city councilman. And I've not seen any employee. And I stay in touch with most of the employees, and I don't go very far. I'm getting older. I wander this city and see what's done. And I can tell you for a fact, there's never been a better employee than Tommy Davis, in my opinion. And I've seen his work. I've talked to his employees, and they all seem very happy to work for him. And that's unusual in a little small community, that you would have somebody, in my opinion, that has done as well as he has. The other thing that bothers me, all of a sudden, we're losing some of our most valuable employees the city has had for years. That tells me that you as a council, including this gentleman here, need to take a good look at what's going on in the city. We've got a problem. I've never seen this many people leave the city that I felt were good employees. And it affects my livelihood. Since I live here, it affects all of y'all's livelihood and the people behind us. There's something going on. I can't put my finger on it. All I can say is I hope y'all will address the issues, find out what the problem is, and give credit where credit is due. And Tommy Davis, in my opinion, as well as Mary's left, and Sherry's leaving. These people have been here, they're part of this community, and all of a sudden, something's happening to make them go. So y'all take a good look at that. And my last comment, we are the only city in Bay County that has not had its peer review. That worries the devil out of me because it was a good drawing point for people to come in. Granted, we got a lot going on in the city, a lot of building going on, but I enjoyed that old pier like everybody else did that lived here all these years. And it just, I don't know why we're not going anywhere with it, but I know all the Panama City's piers were completed. And we've got a thriving community, gentlemen, with a lot of wealth in it now, and a lot of people that are still building. So I would hope that y'all can find out what the problem is and correct the problem so that we can get a pier and get the city moving in the right direction. I thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Webb.
Gary, I just wanted to make sure you're aware that, you know, Sherry has been an employee here for 40-something years.
Yes, ma'am. 40
She is
years.
resigning because she wants to retire.
I can understand that.
Okay, and then Mary Harmon is real excited about her new adventure, so she left on her own accord and is very excited
Yes.
about her new adventure. So I think what you're saying indicates otherwise, and I just wanted to make sure that you understood the reason why those two people are.
I understood very well about Sherry.
Mhm.
Mary, I had some reservations about. Tommy, I definitely know would have stayed longer
Yeah.
had there not been problems here within. And I don't know what the problems are. I'm not involved with it. I'm not a supervisor. That's up to you people right here to make the
Well,
decision.
please talk to Mary because she's very excited about the new adventure. And her son's going to be part of that too. And she
Well,
was
that's
very
good. I haven't
excited
talked
to
to her at all.
be leaving the job after
Yes,
15 or
ma'am.
16 years. So I wanted you to understand that as
Okay,
well.
I appreciate that, and I'm sorry to hear about Bill.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Thank you. Y'all be good.
Rob Crease, MD. Hey, I just want to say thank you for approving Sandy's side-by-side. He might be using it a lot this summer with our new sand dunes being 14 feet in the air. I know there's a lot of people going to go over the side, and I don't know how to get him back, so that was a good thing he did. Second question I have for you. How long, it's almost 7 years, how long am I going to be able to sit in my house and look at blue tarps and plywood over windows and half a roof's missing? Are you going to put an end to this eventually? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. And most of them are second homes, and it's these people ain't broke. They don't live here, they don't care. I mean, this ain't brain surgery. You can drive around and look at it. Enough is enough. It's coming up on 7 years. It's called a nuisance. It's right in the LVC. You can read it. Anybody can make the determination. Enough is enough. Thank you.
And Rock, I guess into your reply, I went out one day and spent about 3 hours checking the city, and then I reported my findings to Chris. He went out and made a much more extensive, complete inventory of what goes on in our city, and that was reported to code enforcement, and then code enforcement was given, you know, their direction as to how they needed to follow up on that. So a lot of that is in the works of being followed up on, and it has been called to the city's attention and to code enforcement's attention.
Okay, I just know it's not on the list. It's not on the list of stuff. And you can drive around the city and write up another 100 things.
It's pretty simple. Thank you.
Well, please feel free to add to that list anytime, Rock, if you see something, give us addresses and then we'll know.
Okay.
Morning, Council. Steve Cox, 225 Charles Corner. I spent a couple hours a few days back going through Chris's project list, and I just kind of want to voice Gary's frustration about the pier. And number one, just frankly, your job of managing the projects. Some of these things, I know we can't move them forward. They're just basically out there in never land, and in spite of everyone's best efforts. I don't know what can be done, but an interesting thing came up, and something that's near and dear to my heart, stormwater. And it's another thing that, to use Jerry's comment here a while back, you know, he'll be dead before the pier is built back. Well, I probably will be too, but
Amen.
Stormwater, we're in the very infancy, you know, of seeing what we can do and if we're going to get a grant and so on and so on and so on. There's an interesting article, and I'll ask Chris to pass these around, in this month's Florida Sportsman about something called living coastlines. And I think we all are smart enough to know that any stormwater plan is not going to involve closing the 8th Street Canal. But I do believe, and the University of Florida is behind this program, I do believe we could create a living coastline at the 8th Street Canal exit. It would do two things. By, you know, a similar thing to what we doing with beach renourishment, we can build that area up and plant native grasses and species there that will filter our stormwater that's going into the Gulf. I believe it's a project the city could, quote, budget for. I, for one, would be interested in making private donations to something like this. So please look into it. I think it'd be a valid project. Lord knows if we'll ever have a storm management system over there on 386 like we're planning for. Secondly, I'd like to address a comment that Rock made and sort of tie in a couple of things to, yes, we're 6.5+ years past Michael, and we all know what we've been through since then, but the one thing, you know, there's home. It's obviously up here on 32nd Street, 104 North 32nd. It's been vacant. I haven't seen anybody there in 5 years. It's in bad repair. There's no efforts being made. It's a nuisance structure. So that's just one example. There's tons more. And then we also have a business here operating in town, right on 98, in a construction trailer. There again, we're almost 7 years past, you know, the disaster. How long are we going to allow businesses to operate in a construction trailer? And quickly, recycling. I think we need to devote more effort, get away from this local startup business, and offer our citizens some real options when it comes to recycling. Waste Management, Coastal, Republic, they're right over here in Panama City. I know they could provide dumpsters, and probably at next to no cost to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Good information.
Lisa Logan, Maryland. Doesn't a change of use in a commercial property need to come in front of the council and get a change of use permit? The reason I'm asking, the former real estate company that was next to, it's in the house that's next to Express Lane. I don't know the address. Y'all know where Express Lane is?
710.
Okay. They moved back on 5th Street, and this is becoming a liquor store. And they are, as I came to the meeting this morning, they're loading merchandise into the store now. I thought they had to get a permit for change of use in front of the council. Maybe they don't. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure they do. And it hadn't happened.
One more time, it said change of use. Where's that located at?
What was the
I
address?
believe it's 710 Highway 98. It's It's the old Forgotten Coast Real Estate.
Yes,
building.
it's,
Changing the liquor store from Fifth
Yes.
Street to that.
Yeah, they've changed that
Changing
real
from-
estate to the liquor store. They've since moved into,
Moved back to Adrian's office.
which was a real estate
They
office.
just swapped. They're not really swapped the same place. Yes, that's where Adrian went to, the liquor store was moving up here with that bad Mount John.
Worth looking into, we'll do that. Thank you, Lisa. Anybody else?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Quinn Jenkins, Louisiana Drive. I have to write it down and not choke up. Mr. Tommy, you will be missed around here. You have always been pleasant. You always answer your phone, even when we interrupt your vacation. Your presence has not gone unnoticed. You have always been involved in city functions like employee luncheons, toy drives, fishing tournaments, and helped out with special occasions like Donnie's 50th birthday party. Your approachable way will be hard to duplicate. You have truly been an asset to the citizens of Mexico Beach. It's been a pleasure having you here as long as we have. My family thanks you. We wish you well. We hate to see you go, but as I was reminded, you will now have plenty of time to cruise around in your vet with your favorite co-pilot. On another topic, I'd like to publicly thank our City Hall team. As a member of Charter Review Committee, I raised concern on giving the city administrator too much power. Tammy, Kathy, Julie, Sandy, Garrett, the entire team has had to adapt, overcome, and tackle jobs under a revolving door of management. And it's not said enough, but you are appreciated. And lastly, I'm very happy to announce that the recall legal fees are paid in full. It was a community effort and proves once again that we are stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lee LZ, Cypress Lane. I almost feel bad after saying, I should have said it before, but that to Tommy said all this nice words about you, and I'm not saying bad words about you, but on to a different topic. I've shared with you guys as a council before that I feel that as a council you deserve to be able to make decisions at this table with the best possible information. I think that when you're not given that information, it makes you look like you don't know what's going on. It makes it look like to the folks in the audience, or the folks that are watching online, that like, what the heck, why weren't y'all provided those types of information? So not only is it a disservice to you, but it's a disservice to every citizen of Mexico Beach, every property owner of Mexico Beach with that. I had shared with you back in November, had you been given proper information about a turn lane at the corner of 98 and 15th Street, you wouldn't have wasted a lot of time. You could have made a decision. It was a lack of you guys having information beforehand. In January, you guys spent a lot of time debating the process of LDC revisions and an auto allowance or an auto for the city administrator, which some of you knew nothing about before you walked into this meeting. The vendor process, there was information that you should have known at this table. The attorney should have been provided the information, so he didn't look like he didn't know what the heck was going on. We paid professionals a lot of money to provide you guys a lot of good support. February, once again, there was a hiring process that made the city look like you didn't know what was going on, like we didn't know what was going on. This last week, more lack of providing you guys information, not at the table, but just information about people living in this very public works building. Caught a bunch of people by surprise. And lastly, I'll say this to our city administrator. Then in a LinkedIn post that's now no longer up. May I finish?
Go ahead. Absolutely.
Yes, I will take recommendations from people for a plumber or electrician, but I at least want that plumber to have done the job before.
Yes, ma'am.
Carol Bonanno, 724 New Mexico Beach. This is directed to you, okay? I think all city employees are great. They are the goodwill ambassadors for the city. Each and every one of them can teach you something, even if it's how to be kind to people. Okay? I don't know how we got this new replacement for Tommy. When I read his resume, it said he had 15 years police experience, law enforcement experience. How does that prepare you for public works? Then they're sleeping, he was supposed to start April 1st. He shows up in February. He's sleeping in the public works office. Does he not have money to rent a hotel room? If he can't manage his own life financially, how is he gonna do a budget for the Public Works Department? And handle vast amounts of money and line items? I'm just not seeing it. You had a spiritual advisor, and God love you. I'm happy for you. Why couldn't you take him into your house or put him up in a hotel? Why is he in the Public Works office sleeping? It's just not right. It's just like you're trying to slide something through on us. Everywhere I go, people are talking to me about this. I can't pump gas, I can't go in the grocery store, they call me on the phone. I don't know what they think I can do about it, but all I can do is voice their concerns to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonanno. Any other public comments? All right, thank you. Appreciate the information. Made some notes and might be getting back to some of you individually, whether the council do or the city administrator. Excuse me. Want to move on to council comments at the table?
I'll go first. You know, I think we've all adjusted to change on a local level and above all on a national level. That, you know, that's just, you know, part of what we see in the age that we live. You know, I've always had a lot of respect for Tommy as well. I think he handles the public beautifully. He's always very polite to everybody and finds a solution to whatever they need to find a solution to. On the other hand, there's different ways of looking at things. You know, there are some complaints here and there about probably anybody that works in this city. To bring in somebody new is just to think in terms of changes as the city grows and to invite new knowledge and new experiences. I think we have a lot of talented people here. The city workers are very talented. They're very committed to the job. They may not have the management skills that they need. They're given opportunities to, through the new employee, Mark, to possibly learn some of the management experiences that he has that could help them in their job and help them to grow and be promoted in the future. And I would like to see us as a city to be open-minded to the changes. We're used to it nationally and now it's local. We need to be open-minded to things and accept new things as the city grows.
Thank you.
Well, I have a few things to discuss here. Obviously, y'all were here at the last council meeting. I'm sure everybody's listened. My opinion of how the Tommy situation, or whatever you want to call it, was handled. Or move on from that. So, you know, as the progress went on, I mean, that was on the 24th. We had a meeting on the 25th. Mark was here on the 24th. We had a meeting on the 25th. That's when I expressed my concerns. Since then, as of, I got it Wednesday of last week, came in the 4th, but obviously we know there was some stuff that came in from Chris's previous employer. Don't know what's true, what's not true. Can't base my facts on that. Have not gotten anything back. What I can do is, you know, I have a response. Well, one, in that email, obviously people can see Chris's email. He was very frustrated, said some words he probably shouldn't have used. And then I get a response from Chris, obviously, that's understandably. Goes on to say a lot of stuff, a lot of claims of racism, unethical conduct, misuse of funds, on and on and so forth and so on. That was Chris's right to do that. You know, as we move on, got another email, obviously thinking that my words at that meeting were based entirely upon Tommy and Randy. I don't know, I've tried to explain that it was the process, but I got an email listing there the things that they weren't doing right, the public works is broken, yada, yada, yada. It's in an email. I'm just going through this real quick. Fast forward, we find out Wednesday, Thursday that we have somebody sleeping in the public works building. Okay, that is very concerning. So, Mr. Truitt sends an email, and this was, you know, there's some things here, and I want to talk about change. The first words, I need to respond to this. First and foremost, I'm making change to upset the apple cart. People don't always like change. We'll do everything we can in it, especially strong here in Florida, not so much in Wisconsin. That's a direct, I consider it a direct insult. So we have that. And I want to say, change, I do it every day. We all change, we all have been through adversities, and I live it every day in the business I'm in. So, you know, and then the bunking situation came up. You know, this email came in on Friday the 7th, but I did speak to Chris. You know, obviously it says Chris gave him the green light to bunk at the PW firehouse until we figure out a place to live. When I moved here from South Florida, I had the benefit of $6K in moving expense. When Mike moved down here, he had a place in Appalachia. If the council would prefer, I certainly would give Mark a moving expense stipend to help him get a place sooner. This arrangement was done as a cost-saving measure. First, wasn't your decision. If you thought he needed money, you should have come here and asked us. That, you assume. You know, I don't know what Mark's situation, obviously he needed, you gave him the green light. I felt like, I mean, the governor's running a special, whatever, he could have got a hotel room. The staying here, just don't, even for him, I was like, there's no place to sleep. You know, he could have stayed with the fire guys, I guess, that was somehow talked about. But, you know, as I read that, it was kind of like, well, if the council would prefer, well, it was already done. The decision had already made. So he stays here. Well, then we had the chaplain. It was first a spiritual, but you said it was the chaplain from Biscayne Park PD. I was told, I mean, and under the impression, it has since been reviewed, that he was allowed to stay here too. And I read this as a friend of Mark's, or it said he could have stayed, you offered that he could have stayed with you, but as a friend of Mark's, he bunked here too for the night. And I met him through Mark. So now, did the other man that wasn't even an employee of the city, did he bunk here or did he not? So, and a lot of things have evolved since then. And then of course this email, and people have seen it, people at this table, people in the audience, people in the community. I'd like to take a moment to address the bigger issue. Tommy and Randy are and who support them are stirring things up. And then it just goes on and on and on about how public works. I don't know all this. I feel like it's putting it in email so it's a paper trail or whatnot. We've all heard what you or other people thought were the issues there. So anyway, it just says, it keeps on. I'm not reading everything. I will continue to see what's right, achieve the Mexico mission and vision, and undoubtedly we'll make mistakes as a human and we'll learn from them. So then, we continue on. Everybody knows there was you posted on your link page, another reasoning behind it. So I want to clarify, obviously Mark was staying here. Is he not staying here anymore? And you allowed him to stay here. Did anybody else give you that green light for him to stay here? And so you talk about your chaplain, and I would like to have his full name at some point. So where did he stay? What's going on with him?
He actually did, excuse me, he actually did not stay here, I found.
You found. And, okay.
Could I make one point regarding the staying of Mark here at the fire station? How was that originally suggested? I know, Sandy, you're the fire chief. I mean, in maybe conversation, did you maybe say there's plenty of room if Mark needed to stay a little while? I know Mark is waiting for his wife to finish a nursing contract in April before she joins him, is my understanding. So maybe he did just need something in between. I didn't know if maybe you were part of the conversation and said, yeah, there's room in the fire.
The city administrator did approach
Okay.
me and asked if there was available space upstairs. I said on certain days there are when we have 2 people on, but there's only 4 beds
Okay.
up there.
Yeah.
If we have 3 of our firefighters on, the Bay County paramedic said that there wouldn't be space for him on a bed, per se.
Yeah.
And that's how I left it with the city administrator, to say that,
So
there's
you-
room up there if it's needed.
Okay, so
Is that
you were
reasonable?
okay, and so that is an okay temporary kind of thing.
That was
Yeah.
pretty much our conversation. We went up, we had a quick look,
Yeah.
and that was
It's
basically where it was
okay,
left.
yeah. And so the
I
fact
mean,
that he
but
can't.
he was offered a place at the administrator's house, and I even think I said jokingly, if you don't want to stay with him, go to my place.
Okay.
I mean, but I meant it if he needed it,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
beyond that, I wasn't involved in the final conversation.
Yeah, and the fact that Mark came early also too, that's standard procedure when somebody comes into a new job, so that they can be trained by the person who's leaving. So I don't see that as a big issue either, that he came earlier than April 1st, because, if he came April 1st, then Tommy would have already been out of the door and would not have had opportunity to learn anything from Tommy.
No, and I get some of that, because you're obviously addressing what, now, we could sit here and debate, did he need to come early, did he not? I figure, well, he's coming early, he must have plans, he must have a place to go. I mean, you plan that. I mean, he did walk into a pretty solid job, making a pretty decent living, and from what I can tell, he came from a solid job. There was no, so I don't, the arrangements here were a little odd at best for him to be staying Okay, I mean, that's just me talking. So, and it's also, if you look, you look at the time frame. I mean, he was here on the 24th, we had our meeting on the 25th. He goes back to Miami on the following Tuesday to do a deposition or whatever he has to do. I'm sure have y'all done any research? Have you looked at, there is a news clip. Mark is speaking on the clip, talking about things that are going on down there, corruption, why he resigned, giving his answer. Did he know the end was coming? Probably. So he was brought up here on the 24th, but I'm not getting in. We know the hiring process was not up to speed, but I've said my opinion on that. So here we are, and y'all have all sat here, we have, and we've all gotten emails from citizens, from Chris, from all this. I mean, it's just a lot of turmoil. And I didn't realize when we interviewed, I mean, I voted to hire Chris. Sat there in the interview. He mentioned some things down there about corruption in the department, finding that corruption. I didn't know the baggage. I had no idea. That's what it's becoming, is the baggage is coming with it. So, I mean, he's been here 4 months. We're in this, it's like, when's it gonna end? It's just like constantly coming out.
Can you elaborate?
And I want to discuss one more item, and I'll shut up. I was called into the Friday afternoon. I was called into the lieutenant's office to have a talk. The lieutenant says, "Hey, I just want to get with the council members and make sure everything's all right." And I'm listening. And I've got all this other stuff going on. I wanted to go sit with Chris about, the emails, all this stuff. It's just, so I'm sitting in there and I'm listening, and I can't believe what I'm hearing. Some people may say, well, it's an inquiry, but apparently our new public works director took it upon himself, or at the direction of somebody, to call FDLE and inquire about what it would take possibly to bring the police force back. Is that not?
That's not true.
Getting a negative on that.
That's a negative?
He's shaking his head no.
So I'll speak to that.
So, let me finish the conversation. So I was like, are you sure about this? I was like, let's just don't. You sure he's got a police background? No. I was told, the sheriff called him and inquired. And I was like, well, it's not that it could be explored. If it was to be explored, it needed to come to this table. I'm just going to say that. But then I was told that, I said, have you talked to, I would have thought you should have called the sheriff or call whoever, if that's where, it should have come through here. So I just wanted to talk, that's just another instance. And I would like to clarify, and if I'm wrong, but I tried to re-verify before I bring it up in here, but what we're talking about is this pattern. It's a constant, it's just, y'all should just take it for what it is. All these emails, everything that's coming in, I don't think it's not people just conjuring up this stuff, And when you came here, we sat in there, we all, you got the support. And I don't know how long we can continue down the path. But obviously we have somebody's shaking their head no.
Where's your asking, Jason? Did he call the sheriff and ask?
No, did he call FDLE? I don't think anybody's called
Mark,
the sheriff.
can you answer that, or Chris, you know?
Yes, I spoke with FDLE about holding my certification, not opening a police department.
So you did call
Yes, I did speak.
And he's got certifications that he needs to keep up. Yeah.
Let me just add to that too, probably, 20 minutes after that conversation, I got a call from Sheriff Ford. Okay, so, in talking with Sheriff Ford, I called Chris right away and said, there better not be any conversation going on between anybody. And we need to decide if Mark decided to come here to be Public Works, or he needs to go back and be a police chief. I want that done today. Did I not?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, in talking to Sheriff Ford, it seemed to me the guy he was talking to, which was not Sheriff Ford, was another guy, right? That guy maybe elaborated a little bit with Sheriff Ford after a couple hours of conversation.
Yeah, there's never any talk about opening up Mexico Beach Police Department. The sheriff's office is the best
And
solution.
this ain't nothing against Ford or nothing, it just was the way it, I mean, I don't understand why I was, I mean, like I said, we can open it up or we can't open it up, but I was called in an office by somebody that's sworn under oath. I'm under oath for the city also. I don't know why, I mean, I haven't, I'm just telling you how it was. And I'm not trying to just keep bringing this stuff, but it gets back to like, my lord. It's just, and when I look, I mean, Chris, I mean, I know you're a hard administrator, but it's all coming back. Looking at you, I mean, but if so you said, I mean, you called.
See if they can hold my cert. The sheriff, they're talking and possibly allow me to get a reserve with the sheriff's office. And then the sheriff could hold my certification.
To hold the certification.
Correct. We just wanted to make sure it wasn't a dual office violation. That's why.
But I was specifically, and like I said, we're getting down. I mean, somebody needs to, I mean, I guess come clean. I don't know. I was told that he called and they inquired about what it would take to open up the police department. That's point blank what I was told.
That's not the truth.
Sheriff Ford lied.
Yeah.
What did you say, what did the sheriff tell you?
He told me that the conversation was inquiring about bringing, the sheriff back to Mexico Beach, and I said, I have no understanding of that, the council has not talked about that, there's no way. I said, you need to talk to your guy and see what the conversation was. Came back to me and said the conversation was open, they talked about a few things, but he was mainly calling him for verifying the certification, and everything's okay. Why don't we, Jason, is that all you've had? If that's
Like I said.
Let's move on to some action. You have anything?
I got one, now I got to get something off my chest with you. I went in your office and asked you 2 questions. True. The first one I asked you was about spending the night. The second one I was asking about the other man that walked, well, there was 5 people in this break room. Mr. Steele and the priest walked out of the door right there. Mr. Steele went to the shower and the other man went out the door. And I asked you, and you told me he had stayed here. Then you just got through telling me that the priest didn't stay here.
I asked for clarification based on our conversation.
But you told me a lie. Did you or did you not? You either that or something's wrong here about the lie.
That is what I thought at the time, that he had bunked here, and then I found out that he had not.
and he come out that door at 7:20, but he didn't stay there.
No, he came in for early morning, basically an early morning prayer with Mark before leaving for the day to go back to Miami.
You don't have any time, because these people get to work in around 6 now. They have to come in this door somewhere.
I have no idea.
That's my problem with you.
And I only go back to, I'm not here to be, I only go back to him staying here especially. It wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't brought here, it wasn't brought to us. It's the one more, the decision making is,
Can we,
I don't know.
can we agree at something at the council? There's obviously a lot of emails that are flying back and forth. Everybody's read emails from the past and from the future. Bottom line is, we knew when we hired Chris what was going on in Biscayne. Did we not? We did.
I don't think I knew quite everything going on.
Maybe the depth of an opinion of a person that wrote that email might have added some light that's factual and or not. Okay? So that stuff needs to be looked at and investigated. So we have some things that we obviously need to do based on your social media with LinkedIn and any other comments that you sent out in emails. We have to deal with that, what's factual and what's not. I'll tell you what is factual. What is factual, you made a bad decision having somebody spend the night at on city property. And I believe that that constitutes a letter of reprimand. I wrote up a letter of reprimand, and I'll pass it on to the council, and I think that we ought to agree to do this. Can you pass that over, please?
I'm not for you.
Pardon me?
I'm not for the letter of reprimand. You need to just start with me. Who else is gonna get you the lawyer?
Please.
Here you go, man.
Run down the county, please.
Tammy, would you like to have one, please?
So the letter of reprimand, Tammy, would you read that? Go ahead. No, I normally do.
Okay, subject, poor decision making. This letter is a reprimand for your poor management decision in allowing the new public works director to sleep several nights in his office on city property. That decision was and is unacceptable. You should have taken more time to consider the situation and think through the consequences of your decision. Instead, you acted impulsively without considering the potential issues for the city. Your decision has caused all of us a great deal of stress and worry, not to mention embarrassment for the city. I hope this letter of reprimand highlights that you should learn from the situation so that you will not make the same error in judgment in the future. I reiterate that this is not the kind of decision making expected from you. This letter will be placed in your personnel file and is subject to disclosure upon a proper public records request being made to the city.
That's the letter I suggest that Chris be given and being put in his file, moving forward. If there's other issues than that, those need to be investigated. I know that there's 2 letters of harassment that were delivered to the city yesterday. One was from Tommy Davis, the other one was from Randy June. Those 2 letters are put into record. We have a policy under our policies, under 14, that says reporting harassment. We're going through that procedure. That harassment is reported to the council. We received that as of yesterday. Everybody's got a copy of that?
I do not.
Okay. Okay, then we will get it reported to me yesterday. I'll make copies and get them to you. Or Tammy, would you do that for the council? We'll have to look at these. I can tell you that Tammy is not our HR director. She's an HR representative. We will be forced to go outside and get an outside firm to look at this situation. And that's exactly what I was planning to do. How do you want to move on?
Well, I want to talk a little, I mean, obviously we're looking at it. I mean, the first thing and foremost is, it's a letter of reprimand. Is that, obviously by no means that excuses any prior behavior that we're continuing to see and deal with. Or are you saying, as a reprimand, saying, well, no, we're not gonna discuss this, all of this, it's a lot of stuff in the last 6 weeks, 2 months, it's obviously been going on. So, I mean, I wanna know for sure what this, like how this is, you know, are we not bringing anything back up? Are we not discussing any more of this? You know, this stuff is evolving daily.
We're gonna do an investigation of the harassment,
Yes,
obviously.
I get that.
Okay. Do you wanna investigate an email from a person down in
No,
Biscayne?
no. I'm looking at emails. I put that aside. I told Mark in his office. I went in there, or not Mark, Chris in his office. I can't base anything what we're doing here based on what somebody sends me from down there. Could it solidify patterns that we've seen here? Could.
Something we should look at.
But I'm only here to represent this city and do what I see is happening within the city. And I do want that to be noted. I'm not basing my, then I go through and highlight it up. I mean, there's a lot of things in here that did say, hey, go to these public records. Somebody probably needs to look into that. I can look at the email that he sent back. I mean, and then I can look at the responses to us on other things, related to here, so.
But what he's related to employees would be part of that investigation. So whatever emails he's made comments about it, the two that have put in a complaint, they would be included in that email. LinkedIn, my suggestion, get the hell off of it. Don't use it.
But I mean, it's like I said, we're dragging it up, but what possessed you to go put that on there?
So I was explaining earlier, I'm not on social media, I don't play around on social media. I have a marketing company that handles my business website. They also handle my personal website and then LinkedIn. So they're a freelance company that handles all of that. Every couple of weeks, every 3 weeks, maybe once a month, they ask a bunch of questions, I give them the information, and that's what they use to create these posts. So the past 2 posts, the one in question and the one previous, they're supposed to be run through me prior to going out to make sure that stuff like this doesn't happen. They weren't run through me, so I terminated their relationship and cut off their access to my account.
After the point that you put out what you said about this city.
After I found out about it, yes.
And that was.
So you're saying you didn't say?
No, that
what was listed in there about the city? Somebody
that was drawn up by the marketing folks.
How'd they get all that?
Like I said, they ask. So what happens is they ask for things that are going on, things I want to touch on. So for example, I can say, yeah, we had an employee issue, and I brought in somebody from the outside. They'll ask some questions, and then they create all of that. They work their marketing, whatever they do to it. So
I want the city to move forward and all, I've had a lot of thoughts when I'm sitting here at this table and this is where to talk about it, but we're also down one councilman. I felt like that was, should be part of this. If we want to put this in this file, but I do believe, and it being said here, that this will, as soon as the councilman is back, that this needs to be addressed. It needs to be looked into. Maybe by then we'll have some more of these, some facts and look at things. But it's my opinion is like it's just, you can read it all. It's all there. I don't need to sit here. I mean, people know, and it's not just some email from South Florida. It's all this. Y'all, we get them all. Just really, really poor public judgment, and you're our top guy. The way our business is being handled is, I don't know how we can handle any business with all this. It's like I can't, I go to work every day, I got a business to run, and I got now, I was like, man, I just wanna come in there, I wanna discuss things with my administrator, see where everything's at, and it's just one after the other. Man. And don't tell me they just, not just them, but people are just after you, even up here. It's not the case, Bruce.
Discipline is normally progressive, so this is a starting point. Do you have another suggestion, Jason?
I'm not gonna suggest anything else at this table without the other councilman here.
And I think that's what we ought to do.
I mean, we put this in his file.
That's no good. That's no,
For today.
We got, today at this meeting, I know he told not 2 or 3 times. For me. And I think we need a full council.
I have no problem with a full council, I'm totally fine with that. I'm asking today that we know there was a wrong done. Do we question his judgment by just saying we're questioning your judgment, or do we put something in the file that says we're writing down there's a problem and we're letting you know today? We come back here tomorrow, maybe a different conversation. And that could expedite from another letter all the way to termination. But we need to have a starting point.
I understand.
I agree with it. And I don't think this is what needs to be done, but then again, I think we need a full council, even with this.
I believe that letter addresses what we know of a fact.
One fact, one.
Correct. Are we good to move forward with the letter? Would we have to vote on that or anything?
I would, yes, sir, because you're gonna have an official action of the council to reprimand.
Is there a motion to put a letter of reprimand in his file?
I'll make a motion that we put this letter of reprimand in Administrator Chris Stewart's personnel file.
Is there a second? No second? More conversation?
I Jason, one more time, I think to do something this way, we need the decision of the full council. I mean, even the letter, and I know what you're saying, we got to start somewhere, that's probably what we need to do. Probably what we need to do, but I think the decisions that I've heard today, and everybody knows, I'm not on Facebook, so I get my information second or third hand. But I'm not, but what I've heard today, and I mean, that's with Tommy Ford. I mean, Tommy Ford is the sheriff that really lies. I really don't know what to do. This, you brought this up today, and I'd have to think about it.
I'm not saying that, anybody, we have more conversation, I'm not here to say that we cannot revisit anything that Jason or anybody else at this table has brought up. I'm telling you what we know of a fact that's been admitted right here at the table. And I believe that it needs to be addressed. It doesn't mean we can't come back here next week and talk about 10 other things, unfortunately. I believe we have to have a line of progression, and you can't let things go like this.
Okay.
I'll ask for a motion one more time.
I made the motion.
Do you have a second?
I want second. I second.
Can we take a roll, please?
Okay, Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. Thank you. I think at this council, we have to agree that we're gonna go ahead and move forward with an investigation on On the 2 harassment letters that we received, is everybody okay with that? We will reach out to a HR firm.
I'd like a copy, of course, but.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got it.
As got it yesterday.
Oh,
Do we have to motion on that, or is that okay to just yea or nay?
If they're gonna, cost any money, we want a motion to be able to expend the funds.
I think they're gonna do it for free.
Well, Tim, would we want all the city council members to see the letter before we take an action on that?
Well, your policy manual states if the complaints are lodged against any appointed employee, city administrator, or city clerk in parentheses, these reports should be directed to the city council. So your policy says that, they're directed to you. How you decide to deal with them or investigate them, there's no specificity here, but they're directed to you. So you've got to be the ones to make the decision of what you want to do once you get the complaint. And if that involves spending money, then yes, I would have a motion to retain an outside firm to do the investigation. I don't think you'd want.
I understand that the council's request order, I mean, I just received these yesterday, yeah. They haven't even looked at them yet.
You
Is
can
that-
certainly defer this to the next meeting, or have a special meeting, whatever you want to do, but
That's not,
it's
that's what
your
I
decision.
said in our
Whenever
manual
you
we would do. We're waiting another 2 weeks, probably.
no, there's no time limit on what you have to do.
All right, I'm gonna suggest that we go ahead and get copies of these, get them to the council. Can we meet tomorrow afternoon sometime?
what's tomorrow, Wednesday?
What time? Did you say a time?
I can only do it in the afternoon myself, but whatever you prefer.
24 hours?
Gotta have 24-hour notice.
Yeah.
Thursday morning, anytime after 9 in the morning, let's do it. You okay? 10?
For me, that will depend on.
Oh,
Bill's
Bill,
situation
yeah.
too. I mean, I can't commit one way or the other, because that
Do we have just one, before we schedule that, do we know when Mr. Linderman is scheduled back?
He's not till, I think, next week, he's like 3 weeks or something like that.
That's right.
Well, no, we'll go ahead and, we need to go ahead and do this week.
Yeah, this is just somebody ironing up for him.
I thought he was coming back Friday, he's not coming back till next Friday or something.
Sure, I'd be for it, because we know we're gonna have to get a lawyer anyway. I ain't ready yet, you know.
He's not back from March 15th.
What is the date?
So, back to your special, can we do it Thursday, just depending, or,
I don't, you know.
what do you think your schedule is?
My husband's in.
Yeah, I know,
hospital,
but I
I'm
mean,
taking one.
have you been going over there every morning and?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go over there, but I don't know
What's
what
gonna happen?
You know, if they're gonna plan a major surgery or something tomorrow. I don't know that.
Yeah.
If it's us three got to be.
Can we make a motion to do it, and then each councilperson lets the city administrator? Okay. You can't do it individually.
No, you gotta, if you're gonna set a special meeting, you need to have it done.
Yeah.
It's Monday, day, we'll make it, so I'll make it. How about you?
Thursday
Okay,
afternoon?
Ms. Hamilton. I know it's Tuesday.
There'll only be 3 of us, if Ms. Hamilton doesn't make it.
Thursday?
Thursday afternoon?
Yeah. I hope she can make it, but if not, family's more important.
Yeah.
How about Thursday afternoon at 1 o'clock, is that good?
Do you want me here for that, Mayor?
Can you make that?
Well, that's the reason I'm asking, because I have an appointment, which I can move.
It's just gonna be,
too.
approval for a subcontractor to, expenditure. I don't think we need to.
That's fine. I serve at the pleasure of the council, so.
I think we're
I
good.
wouldn't think on that one, we would need them unless you say you need
It
them.
should be a 5-minute meeting just to approve it.
Will Would something like maybe later in the day, 4 or 5 o'clock, I think that would give me a little bit more.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
We got
But can we say 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
Okay.
Works for
If
me.
you can't make this time, I promise you how.
All right, 4 o'clock.
Thursday, March 13th at 4 o'clock.
I got therapy that time, I'll see if I can.
Okay. All right. I had no comments, I've already made my comments, so, so I'm good. Any staff comment?
Mayor, Council, I do have one quick question to ask of you. You all know Tracy Gaddis. We all know Tracy Gaddis' mother, whose husband was the first fire chief, and unfortunately she's in hospital with congestive heart failure. We had talked in the past about naming some part of the new fire station in his honour. It's very last minute this, she approached me, she also actually called Julie, the idea of possibly doing something sooner rather than later. And I'm just asking for ideas, although this is one, we could have a little plaque made up with his name on it, dedicating maybe our day room upstairs to him, to be transferred at a later date to the new fire station, not the whole fire station, just the ready room or the day room. We could put it up on the wall inside so he'd be seen. I think it'd be nice for her before she passes, because unfortunately it's imminent. And I'm just looking for some guidance if it's something that we could do very quickly. There'll be no cost to the city. The 501c3 will pay for the plaque, so that's not an issue. It would be just a case if you would allow us to dedicate the room upstairs to him.
You can't put a plaque on one of the engines?
We could do that too. I mean, I'm totally up to you. It's whatever. It's just an idea. As I said, the ready room upstairs is an easy one, where he's seen. The truck would be seen by everybody outside. It's equally a good idea.
I like the truck myself.
Yeah, I do too.
With the idea that we base, when we say that it's on, we could put it on the new ladder truck,
I think that'd be great.
and then it'll be seen by everybody as it goes out and about town.
I like that.
I like that. Yep.
All right.
That's great.
Thank you.
Is everybody's good with that one? Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Julie, did you have something?
No, I'm
Good,
just
okay.
that. Although the Concord's being poured for the restrooms on Friday and they should open the following Friday. If you haven't been by one of the parks and seen them, they're really, really pretty.
Really, really.
They are really,
And we
really
have
pretty.
lights on the outside. If you go by at night and see a bright light, it's made for it to come on.
Okay, that was all the staff comments, Chris. We will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.